Ay, 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 what is going on? Dang it. Never heard of them. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Frozen pizza?
So let me say, we're all shirtless right now.
If you couldn't tell by our voices being a little deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cutting this out. I'm
No.
cutting that
Oh,
out.
that's a great starting
Right.
point.
Yeah.
I think
We'll get
so.
to that.
Being
We'll get to that.
shirtless is a great free joy in life.
Yeah.
Is a what?
Free joy in life.
Costs nothing. Costs less than wearing a shirt,
It
actually.
does. I am shirtless a lot now.
Shirtless costs a lot because you have to build a fence in your backyard so other people can't see you shirtless.
Only if you're polite.
You have to look out for your neighbors.
Don't
You have
Give
to
them
look out for
something
your
to
neighbors.
aspire
There's
to,
kids
Wherley.
around here, dude.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Let them know the freedom that they could access that they choose not to.
That
That
Wherley
shame-
backyard says freedom.
Shame is a powerful thing.
That's freedom.
I think that it's just funny that this was the toy room. Like this used to be a room full of random awful toys that had never been
There
played with.
Was
Literally-
the computer room that we were not allowed to go
yeah,
into.
that's my office.
And we would go in there.
Don't even look at the door.
We would go in
Don't
there.
look at the doors to my office.
The Wherley boys would be like, "Hey, check this out. This is my dad's computer."
Get on there and type in Megan Fox transform.
I hope you're lying. You better be lying. You better be lying.
And then the mythical iTunes library.
Oh,
The Wherley boys would show us all the Jay-Z on there.
Oh, yeah.
The explicit
Yeah.
content.
When you grow up in a town at 600 people in the middle of
Cuss words
Illinois,
in this
nothing
one, dude.
says Table Grove quite like Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z that wasn't around when I was a kid. So I'm sitting here after all of that. Here we go. I have two of my favorite people in the world on the podcast with me today. We've talked about this the day before Mother's Day, actually, as we were enjoying a wedding reception of my daughter getting married. I got the Duncan McClure and the Cameron McClure
Yo.
sitting in my house, ready to talk about. Honestly, we don't really know.
Sitting
We're
here with
going
the
to be
king of Yap.
all
Whatever.
over the place. We talked about it that night. It was funny because you're at a wedding reception and the music's loud, and you're like, "Hey, we need to do this," and now we're doing this. So I'm
We were a
glad
couple
that you
Really
drinks
good.
guys.
in.
Cheers to that. Cheers
Yeah,
to that.
I'm glad that you guys made it up to your hometown. And we won't get
Us
into your experience when you return to your hometown. We're not going to do it.
That's
We're going to
right.
skip right past it. So
Driving in.
They traversed Chestnut. What everybody?
Like a war zone.
if you're listening to this, it's called No Side Streets right now. You can't. No, we're not crossing the main road. You've got to drive around town.
That's right.
You were able to weave your way through your hometown to get to my house, and
Saved minutes.
excited
Saved
to
minutes.
have you here. And again, we are going to talk about a gazillion different things.
Lots of stuff. Stuff
So
on the agenda
normally
today.
when I post these, they have a theme. Today's doesn't. So
That's how I like it.
why don't we start here though? You're both living in Nashville. Like you go from Mason City to Nashville. And Nashville, which I'm sure anyone listening to this knows, is booming, probably to the point that you've probably met people from Nashville that don't love its boomingness
Yep.
in some ways.
Most of them.
So,
That is true.
yeah, I would
Yes.
imagine. And I've read that online. And you never know what you read in the news, whether it's true or not. But I would imagine Nashville, Austin, Texas, places that have
changing a lot very
right.
quickly.
They don't really enjoy it. So give me a little of that. What has it been like to live in Nashville, Tennessee?
Well, so he was there before me, 2016. I went there in 2017, and so we are considered by locals to be locals, because there was a boom after COVID, transplants they call them. So we are out of the transplant.
Narrowly
so,
missed that label.
So we are cool. We are cool with the locals. We are like in with them. So that's pretty nice.
Because you really did beat it, though. I
Yeah,
mean, when you think about
totally.
it, especially you, Duncan, you beat it by a lot. Like the boom, I would assume, has been maybe the last 4 years. I don't know what
Yeah.
the heck I'm talking about. But I mean, you would assume
since 21,
It exploded.
Right.
been crazy.
Yeah.
After
Post-pandemic.
Mid and post.
Mid-pandemic.
They were pretty loose. You get a lot of people from California, big money. They go out and buy a house for cash, and then they're like, yeah, we didn't like the way that you're doing things over there. And people were partying. People were partying in Nashville.
Well, because I know some people that even work at Illini Central that I don't know if they'll listen to this, but they enjoy going down there. Like they'll take a trip down there every so often. And, Ron and I've talked about how we really need to go down and visit you guys because you hear how awesome it is. But it makes you wonder, you've seen it a little bit, how it went from being maybe really, really awesome to now touristy awesome.
Well, I mean, the nice thing is the tourists pretty much stay on the one road.
In certain spots.
Yeah. So the places that I frequent are like more neighborhood areas rather than Broadway. And so there's like great restaurants there, cool bars, great things to do. So like for the most part, the tourists kind of all go to the rooftop bars, the honky tonks. And so we we live like 20 minutes out of downtown. So we're kind of away from the noise. And then like I said, the tourists pretty much are in one spot for the most part. So I just kind of, I'm not super affected by it, but
yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's driving the costs up, the cost of living up.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it because I feel like everybody moves to Nashville for a dream. All the musicians who know that Nashville is the country music hub,
right?
And I feel like it is a very supportive city for people who just have like high aspirations. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've noticed with Cam. We had a conversation pretty early on. So Cam was doing music as well, and it's like, you tell people, yeah, I do music. Well, big deal. So does everybody else. The 15 people that are sitting at the table, 13 of them also have these little music projects.
Right.
And we have received, since doing Cam Burgers, a lot of people are extremely supportive. Because I think that is the nature of Nashville. It's just you can't support all your friends who do music because you would be at a show, 3 shows a night, every single night of the week.
Yeah. You can't afford to do that.
You can't afford to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
because they're not playing concerts at the town square. I'm not being funny. Down at the town square, they're not. They've got to try to make a living too. They're doing
it's
it.
a bar over here. It's a bar over there. It's a writer's round over here.
You can only expect your friends to come to so many of these like things that they have to pay to get in before you're like, I understand. You guys can't do this. Keep doing this.
Yeah, because like I said, I wasn't
going to support you from afar.
Trying to be, flippant about it, but it's not like you performing when you were younger, like here in town at the 1 year town festival thing. It's different in that way.
But I think even the locals had that same sort of DNA. You moved to Nashville, whether it was 2 years ago or 15, 20 years ago, like just Nashville's reputation is one of like, you moved there for a dream.
Well, and something you could probably appreciate is that like you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it the grouchy way, all these people coming here, blah, 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 blah. Or you can be like, think of all the new restaurants that we get because people come here wanting to do something. Think of all the cool, like every time you add a bunch of people, you also add diversity, ideas, and all this stuff. And so Nashville wouldn't look like it does right now if it wasn't for the influx of people, which, you can be grouchy about it, but you could also say, think of all the amazing things that we're getting because of this influx of people. And I try to stay on the positive side because it is cool. Like for us to start a business, there needs to be a place that could grow. And that's what Nashville is.
I mean, shoot, Nashville is probably the most fertile soil to start anything new, because of all the new growth that there is. And so everybody's always looking for the next big upcoming thing. And, that's one of the things we're trying to keep this momentum going of.
And I wonder how much of that, this is going to be like none of the three of us and you live there have the answer to this, but like how much is that music is different than you would hear about people moving to LA or Hollywood trying to make it big that way. Like music's different. Like you can listen to all different kinds of things. It's not like I'm taking your role or you're taking my role. We're not auditioning. I wonder how much that plays into that as well. It's not maybe as cutthroat as it would be. I know you're trying to get a recording deal and whatever, and from producing music or being around artists, I would assume maybe a little bit of what I'm saying there.
Well, I mean, like there is an unlimited amount of space for people to put music out.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah, you can you could record a song and upload it today.
Well, yeah, like this is going to be uploaded on Spotify,
Yeah,
and
like,
I'm nobody, and it
costs $0.
Yeah, and it's not take it or leave it.
It's not a movie.
Yeah,
there's like limited parts.
Yeah, there's not millions of dollars going into us sitting here doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and so like I think that kind of contributes to like, especially people who can just do it themselves. Like you don't have to have a manager,
right,
a booking agent. Like you can truly just do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's hard work, but like
it's hard either way.
Being an A-list actor, just by yourself just doesn't happen.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of the inspiring thing too, is people just go and do it. Like even though mathematically there's just thousands of people that are doing what they're doing, and they're technically competition, but it's like, well, I'm gonna still do it anyways.
And they say that Nashville is a 10-year town, meaning you have to go on the grind for 10 years before you actually ever make it out anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about the fact that music is not what is getting you out. It is your ability to stay the course whenever you're not getting paid for it, you're not making any money, your ability to network with the people who are actually important in making you successful. Yeah. The music is really a relatively small part of how you become successful in Nashville. Yeah. There's so many talented musicians, so many people who can sing, so many people who can play guitar, and like the talent is unbelievable in Nashville.
Right.
The music is not the product, it is the personality.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we tried to start applying.
It's not just music, that's anything you're trying to sell. It's not just a burger, it's not just a song. It's like
how do you make the person feel whenever they interact with what you're giving them? Yeah. And obviously anything that you create has a little bit of your DNA in it. So you can still give them that feeling, but it's like if you don't love what you're doing, people are going to sense that. If you're trying to make money, people are going to sense that. Like you can just get this feeling from a song where it's like this person just wants to put out shit, make it big, and then forget everybody that they know here. Yeah. Right. They just want to rub shoulders with famous people. Right. You can get a sense of that just by listening to the song. It's like there's something spiritual that happens whenever you create something where it's like you get a sense of the person who created it, and that is the product. Right. You want to create something that you feel connected with, and Nashville is not gentle on that. Yeah. A lot of people move there with big aspirations because they think they can sing a little bit, and it chews them up and spits them out because there's a long waiting list.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about like if I were to write a Taylor Swift song, if I wrote all the lyrics, no one would care if I was singing it because it's not the song, it's Taylor Swift singing this song, and so it's like the product isn't just the lyrics and the composition and the music, but it's the person who is singing it. They want to be involved in Harry Styles or Taylor Swift, part of their thing, and so that's kind of like the hook is like you get them with a burger, you get them with a song, and then you make them fall in love with you, and they're like, I want to be a part of his thing. Right. It's cool, or it's fun, or it's attractive, whatever it is. Like that's what keeps people around.
Yeah, especially in the world that we're living in right now. I mean, instantaneous and social media and
create or consume.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It in some ways that's not great. In other ways it's great, and you just have to figure out a way to navigate all of it to do what you want to do.
I was having a really hard time about, I guess it'd be a year and a half ago, because I was like so dissatisfied with music and what I was doing, and it just felt like I was on this uphill battle, and I had to have like a come to Jesus moment. Like, what do I want? Like, do I want to make music? Is it because I love making music, or do I want to be famous? Do I want to make money? Do I want to do this forever? And like, because sometimes when you go into it, you like lose the goal, and like I lost it, and I was miserable because I would talk to people, and like subconsciously I'd be thinking, what is this doing for me? How is this advancing me? What can I use out of this? And like, of course I didn't want to go out and talk to people, because I wasn't even seeing people as people at that point. Like, I'm seeing them as, how are you going to help me?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was not having fun. I wasn't enjoying it, and I would get frustrated every time I tried to make a song, and it just wasn't working. And once I kind of had that realization of like, I need to fix my relationship with this, it just like has opened up since then and been great.
Well, here I think it's funny that I'm sure you guys are gonna share this with people who you've known down there that don't know your background, that don't know you that well, and don't understand that both of you have grown up in a musical house. Both of you can play the drums. Both of you can play the piano. Both of you can play the guitar. And how, you're both really, really good drummers. And then you get down there and everybody else is really, really good drummer. Like, I think that's the thing that, it's like, so-and-so's a great, Duncan was a great basketball player, helped us win a state championship. Maybe not everybody's won a state championship, but there's a lot of people that did what he did, and that doesn't, Yeah. I was thinking before we decided to do this, I was thinking about what we could talk about. Like, you used to play the drums during starting lineups your senior year and just kill it. Like, I asked you to play In the Air Tonight and you could do it. Yeah. But so can a lot of other people. And like what you're just saying, I mean, the reason why I say that is like people that maybe don't know you, again, down there, like, you didn't just go down there and not have any idea what you were doing. Like, you're good musicians. Right. And that's where it's different. And when you said, getting your mind right, because lots of people are like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big fish, small pond. Yeah. And then you go to a infinitely large pond. And you're like, like, is there room for me here? Like, is there enough gigs? Are there enough people? Is there enough space? Like, is there room for me in this? Like, figuring out if, one, I want it bad enough, because you kind of have to make the room for yourself, kind of get in there. And like, am I willing to do what it takes to get myself some room? Because, I mean, very rarely does the town make a way for you. You kind of, like he was saying, the 10 years, you get in there and you meet people and you grow up with people and you just keep showing up. And 10 years of that, I mean, I would say 10 years of anything, you're going to start seeing some breakthroughs eventually. I mean, I'm on year 4 or 5, and I'm starting to see I can support myself now on doing music, and it's a long, even 5 years was a long time, and it just takes some longevity. But yeah, the big fish, small pond thing, it takes some adjusting.
But I think it's really important, especially for us, to get out of the small pond, just to see what's out there. Yeah. Right. To realize I feel special, but I'm not special. And that disillusionment of like, in my hometown, like I was a celebrity, and then to get to Nashville and it's like,
I was like, oh, I need to practice.
And the funny thing is you weren't a celebrity because we won. I honestly have seen kids who could do the things that you could do, be a celebrity here just because you were good at it, and kids could see you on Friday night. But you're the celebrity, air quotes.
Right. Heavy air quotes around
blew
that.
up because we won. Right. I mean, that's where it was different. Like, there's other kids who everybody in your small town knows who you are because you can put the ball in the basket and whatever.
I'm sure the name had a little something to do with it too.
Right. You just
Duncan.
Duncan, and first person to dunk it in a while, and people making videos using Van Halen Jump.
Putting the GoPro right behind the backboard for me.
Yeah. Those are good days. Those are good days. Those are great memories that will never go away. But it is part of that. And not that you do have to leave. I lived in 2 small towns my whole life, and you can be a celebrity in whatever your role is. But with you guys being able to do that is, it's cool. But it had to be humbling at some point where you're like, I can play these drums really, really well. Or I've taught myself to play this guitar. Or I've taught myself to play the piano. Yeah. And now I get here, everybody else can do it at the level that maybe I can in some way, shape, or form.
But go ahead.
When I went to college, we did a drum tryout, just to like placement to see like where your level is. And they put a jazz chart in front of me. And I was like, I just freestyle. I was like, I don't know.
Right, yeah.
And I was like going crazy, just drum soloing over this jazz piece. And they're like, you ever played jazz before? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm gonna have to learn a little bit.
Was this not optional? I thought this was a...
Yeah, I was like, can we play some rock and roll?
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just immediately on arrival, I'm like, I don't even know what I don't know.
Yeah.
But something I would have never ran into being here.
Yeah, and I mean, I've known both of you since you were little boys. Like, I met Duncan, you, Cameron, are one of Gage's best friends, so I've known you forever. And Duncan, I remember meeting your parents and getting to know you. Were like a fourth grader. You're not arrogant people. Like, it wasn't like you thought when you got down there, I'm going to take this place over. Yeah. But still, you are a little bit of a fan of yourself. You have to be in life. Yeah. You have to be in life to be successful. Mm-hmm. And part of it's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I love that you say that because the music that I make for myself is like super small market, tiny market. And so for me, I'm not putting anything out that I don't love and listen to.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably going to be the one who cares about it the most.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm just making songs that I wish existed, and then I'm making them exist, and then I'm listening to it. Like,
right.
That's my radar for like what is good.
Yeah.
Me believing in it, if I'm the only one.
And it makes me think too, because I know you and I specifically. Again, part of it's because I have a kid that's the same age as you, and we were around each other in a different way. I mean, Duncan and I have been around each other a lot in other ways, basketball specific, but like in terms of conversations that you and I had when you were trying to figure out what you were going to do. Here I am, between 45 and 50 years old, trying to give you advice, and you're 17, 16, 18, whatever. And I don't know what to tell you because you're wanting to go into a field that, I don't know,
Yeah.
Basketball wise, Duncan could have gone on and played college if he wanted, but I don't know how far you go because everybody, again, it's not just music, it's sports too. Yeah. Lots of people can do this. Lots of people can do that. It's how much do you, and I had this conversation with someone who really looked up to you, Duncan, when he was little today before I left work. We love to throw the word love around. I love music. I love basketball. Well, love means sacrifice.
You think you do.
Yeah, love means sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't love it as much as you think you do.
If you love something, you sacrifice for it. I'm not talking about saying I love pizza or I love Coors beer.
Yeah.
I love it to the point that I'm going to give up things I want to do so that I can do that thing.
Yeah.
And that's what you.
That we had on a drive home. I think
Yeah. I was thinking about it when you were talking earlier. Yeah.
I was like.
It was when Gage went and shot the 3-point thing. Don't we? He's going to get so mad if we go there. We won't. Yeah, I love my son, so I'm not going to do it. It's Cameron saying this. It's Cameron saying it. I'm not son. When you listen to this. Son, when you listen to this, it wasn't me. Cameron's doing it.
Did he kick the bench after, didn't he?
I don't remember.
Punch the bench?
I don't remember. I'm making that face right now. Yeah.
Yeah, after that, I remember being like, do I...
Yeah, we talked the whole way home, yeah.
Go to community college for a couple of years and then go. And I remember the main point to me was like, how many Van Halen success stories do you hear that they were like, well, I took the safe option and I went to community college for a couple of years and then I went and did it. It's like they just kind of go out and live poor for a while and send it. And like that's kind of what it costs for the most part.
Right.
And that conversation kind of, hindsight's 20/20, but like that conversation sticks out to me thinking about like what are you willing to sacrifice for the thing that you love?
And there's got to be a little bit of that belief, you were talking earlier that like you have to believe in yourself, there's that Steve Jobs quote, only the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are those who do.
Right.
And you have to kind of believe that you got to believe in yourself, especially if you're going to go out and it's like, well, I'm going to go to Nashville and I'm not going to go for a job. I'm just going to go there and see what happens. Like, you have to be a little delusional to go and take that step. But that's like, you have to create that space that's big enough for the universe to throw you the things that you need on your way.
Right.
And if you're going to play it safe the whole time, you're like, well, I'm going to go to school. This is not, I think that everybody has their own path that they take, but well, I'm going to get my degree and I'm going to get myself a nice, job, and I'm going to buy myself a house and then I'll start a family. Like, that was the path that I went. And ultimately that life didn't
here we
didn't
are,
suit
sunglasses
me.
on, cowboy
Here I
hat
am,
on, shirtless in the
28 years old, and I got nothing.
In the former Wherley toy room, right? Talking.
This is
make
where,
sure if you're listening to this, listen to us. We know what we're talking about. If you could only see a picture of us right now, I got my Dodger swim trunks on. None of us have shirts on. They are wearing their Camboys cowboy hats. Right? Yeah.
Take this to the bank.
But let me tell you.
But that being said, you're right. You're right though. And just because whatever you started out as doesn't mean because you change course that you've done something wrong.
Right.
It's just you're adjusting that and throw your love somewhere, and that love being something that you understand you have to be willing to sacrifice for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into a big thing, but what you were just saying really hits me is like, I wasn't going to come here to Illini Central, and I've said this, I've written it, because it would have been safer to stay home because everybody knew me. And I talked myself out of coming here, and you and I, the three of us, we would have no relationship at all if I would have played it safe. And by safe, as I don't mean moving to Nashville and trying to play music. I mean, safe doesn't have to be, or the jump doesn't have to be something crazy like what you guys have been able to, you're trying to do. Yeah. It could be as simple as leaving your hometown and moving across the Illinois River to Mason County.
That felt like second nature to me. So that wasn't a risk, because I moved to Colorado at on the eve of my 18th birthday.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't risking anything for me. So that safety is relative, and I think everybody's going to have a different boundary of what.
Right. So that's why I just think, and it's part of my personality is like, I just assume someone listens to this, well, I'm not thinking about, I'm not, don't listen to what we're saying or hear what we're saying and not listen to the fact that it doesn't have to be some crazy jump. It could be a little jump where you believe in you, that you can do whatever it is. Because sometimes it is the littlest steps that take the most belief, not just moving to Colorado right out of high school or whatever. Because it's easy to do the other thing. And, it's finding that love, legitimate love, not just throwing it around.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's talking about how much I love basketball. Like, there are people, it goes like beyond, like they live basketball. They wake up thinking about it, they go to sleep thinking about it, they dream about it, they take breaks to eat and to drink, and then they go back to it. Like, I don't love basketball like that. You know, like there are levels to it. And whenever you find the people, that's one of the things I think Nashville is great for, is it shows you people who actually love it and what it takes at that level. And then you're like, ooh, I am not doing it.
Right.
I am not doing what it takes. But you have this template of like, that's what's so hard is I feel like people who, small towns don't hold on to people who have that template for very long. I just don't think it contain them. And they go somewhere where it's like they have more room to play with. But the people who, and that's one of the things that I've always loved about you is like you can feel those things and it just kind of seeps into everything that you do. And whenever you get a template of something like that, you want to replicate it. If it's like, if I feel that way about it, I want to do what they're doing.
And I think if you want to be great at whatever it is that you do, you have to pour yourself into it 100%. Mm-hmm. And again, whether you're willing to do that or not, you want what I have, but you don't want to do what I do to get it. Because you made that, I don't remember how you worded it earlier, but that's exactly what I've tried to do. Well, it was about the kids who love me here and have loved me here for the past going to be 22 years this fall. It's because never for 1 second did they question whether I loved them and cared about them or not.
Yeah.
Whether you like me or don't like me, that's fine. But the truth is, the people who know. I got a message from a kid a few weeks ago, and I won't really get into it, but like, I knew that I had whatever I had tried to do to make that kid realize how much I cared about him, I did. You poured that into him. And whether it's being a teacher or a coach or the technology director and knowing all of them, or being a musician or making burgers or whatever, you said it, Duncan. People can see, they know when you're faking it. And that's why I always said I love junior high kids. You can say, oh, junior high kids, teenage, whatever. Like, they can see through you.
Yeah.
If you don't care, they know it.
Yeah.
Grade school kids might not, because their filter had their antenna hadn't got there yet. But middle school kid, they know. They know. If you don't love them, they know you don't love them. And that's whether you're doing that in a small town or Nashville or LA or New York, Chicago, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're passionate, someone's going to see it, and you'll be happy that you did that you put yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
And surrounding you go ahead.
You can feel that energy whenever someone truly believes what it is that they're saying. And I believe that there is a sincere gravity to that energy.
Right.
Whenever, like, even if there was a song that me and Cameron listened to and laughing on the way over here, it was this song that's like just this political conviction, but it's like you can tell just by the way that she sings it that she believes it. And it's like it has a pull whenever someone believes what it is that it's, in music, or if it's in basketball, or if it's in writing, or anything that you're creating. If you've put in the reps and you believe it, you start to feel that. And I think that's
Right.
what people are really pulled towards. And it takes work to get there.
Right.
Like that sacrifice that you were talking about. Like you have to put in all those reps over time. You have to put in those reps whenever you're not feeling it, whenever you don't feel inspired, whenever you're sick, or whenever you're tired, or whenever you missed out on sleep, or like the consistency of showing up every single day and doing it is what it costs. And
Right.
that, you see the template of people who are doing that, and it's that's why it's a 10-year town, because it weeds out the people who don't love it enough.
Right. Legit love it enough. What are you gonna say?
Surrounding yourself with people, finding those people who are willing to do what it takes, even more so than me, and surrounding myself with them, and like letting that influence creep in on me. It like when you find that community of people, it like lifts you up with them.
Right.
And it's like it's really important to find people who are better than you, who know more than you, and who are doing what you want to do. Because even just being in the room with them will get you talking to people, get you meeting people. It's just like I would dare to say you can't not advance if you don't just keep showing up in the right places.
Right. Well, and you said it earlier about being positive. Like, that's one of my big things. If I know people are negative, and whether it's where I work or whatever, I don't need it. And I don't need to be, I just mean I won't do whatever I can to help you out or whatever, but surround yourself with people who are looking at life the way you're looking at it. Because otherwise, I saw a meme once or a quote once, like, tell me the 5 people you hang around with and I'll tell you what kind of person you're like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not stupid. It's the truth. It's the truth. If I'm around 5 people that bitch and complain all the time, I'm going to be that kind of person. If I'm around 5 people who are positive and want to see positive things and find the best in others, then I'm going to do that as well.
Duncan grinds really, really hard. You can tell he works hard on his body. He eats really well.
What? I'm sitting here, I don't have my shirt on either.
And we're
Sucking my gut.
See an ab.
Sucking my gut.
It's like, and we're roommates, so being in the same house as somebody who's getting up, going outside, working out, eating right, makes you feel a little bit worse when you're like, oh, I'll sleep in a little bit today. It kind of like, but not in a bad way, in a way that I need to be around someone who is working harder than me. It's like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'll get up. I'll go to the gym today, or I'll go do this. And if you surround yourself with a bunch of people like that, you'll get in their wake. It can be life changing.
I hope Rhonda doesn't listen to this because Rhonda works out 3 days a week, and I live in the same house as Rhonda, and I toast her with a beer as she leaves the house to go work out. So we were talking basketball. So Duncan, you're going to do basketball again. Then you're going to play basketball. If you don't know, Duncan plays for the Nashville Aces in Nashville. It's, what is the league called? Like, I'm not going to butcher it, so I'm going to let you say.
It's the ABA, the American Basketball Association.
Right. So you play at a bunch of different places. You actually played in Peoria last year during my third bout with the coronavirus. That's got to be fun. It's got to be it has to be an interesting life experience that you are enjoying greatly.
I did not think that I was going to be playing organized basketball again after I hung it up after high school. But it has been so much fun. I love basketball, man. I know we just went on this whole tangent of, what it takes to love it and everything like that, but the game of basketball is, in my opinion, and I'm sure I'm a little biased, but it's just like none other. And I have cherished every moment that I get to just suit up and then be out there where there's people in the stands, and like most athletes after high school don't get that again. And you don't, as an adult, get to experience the thrill of performing in a sport in front of people. Some people, they do like the rec league and everything like that.
Right.
There might be 10, 12 people in the stands, but whenever there's actually a production that's put on where there's music and there's food and concessions and everything, it is not glamorous, people. I don't get paid. It's not this big old ordeal, but it is a blast. And I wasn't planning on trying to make a big career out of basketball.
Well, when if you're listening to this, again, the people that you've met and that may listen to this, that they know you but don't know your story, like, you worked your tail off to become a huge part of a state championship team in the middle of Illinois. You busted your butt. You went to the gymnasium on your own. I always say this when people talk about you, they're like, when they would say, well, you work with this guy, or, like, I didn't. I mean this sincerely. I helped you, but I did not help you become the player you were. And honestly, no offense to Coach Giesler, but he didn't. It was the hours that you put in when neither one of us were around that made you the player that you were and that you are today. And I'm not saying that because you're sitting here and being nice, because it sounds like the thing to say. It's the honest to God's truth. We both helped you. I helped you, and I probably helped you more in emotional dealing with issues ways than I probably did on the court, because that's who I am. But like, you went from being that person that didn't play much in junior high to where you became, you annihilated in the third quarter of the semifinal game your senior year to push us to the state championship game and then help us win the state championship. And then after high school, when people would be like, oh, he's got to go play college, you didn't want to. I mean, and I'm not speaking for you, but like, you proved your point. That's what I would always say when you weren't around me, but people would be like, I can't believe Duncan didn't go on and play. I'm like, he proved his point. He worked his tail off. He helped us win a state championship. And then you went through a period of time where you didn't play much. And then now it's kind of fun that you're at a place where now you're just doing it, not because everybody expected you to, but because you want to.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I'm not putting words in your mouth. You and I've never had that conversation. I'm just saying what I think, and we'll see whether you think I'm full of it or not.
No, most definitely. First off, I want to shout out to God for the 3-inch growth spurt that I went through my junior year. That helped a lot. But I also think that, like, I remember talking to my parents. I wrote a little paper in like the 6th grade. Scrawny Duncan. This is braces, glasses, is the whole thing. Said I wanted to play varsity basketball, and You know, I remember my dad saying, like, obviously he didn't tell, parents are very supportive. Dad read that and he was like, okay, buddy, like, good luck. And, but I don't know. I feel like I've always had this internal drive that whenever I really want something, I'm going to go get it. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't think I can take credit for it necessarily. It just feels like a part of my DNA, but.
And I will say this about you and again, if you're listening, we've known each other since he was in the 4th grade and we've been on benches together and I've given him advice. And there's this terrific picture of the two of us where I'm screaming in his face and I'm actually not yelling at him in anger. We talked about that, I think, at Hannah's wedding reception. I'm pumping him up, but like, you were coachable and you listened. And that, if you're listening to this and maybe you're younger and you're listening to this, I don't know if there's a better trait in life than being coachable. And it doesn't mean you have to be on my basketball team. It means you have to be willing to listen to people who, when Cameron asks me on a ride home from a 3-point shootout, ask me my opinion about life. Do you want my opinion or are you just asking because it seems like the thing to do? And you were coachable and you listened. And it helped you become the player that you were, and it helped you become the person you were. You had what you were just saying. You were motivated to be good, but you also were willing to listen when someone told you, hey, this ain't it. Like this, you got to get refocused, and you always did.
Yeah.
You always did.
You wrote that paper in 6th grade. You went through 4 more years of bench riding.
Yeah.
After that, 4 maybe that'd be maybe 5 more years.
Well, 6th, 7th, 8th, freshman, and then a sophomore. When he was a sophomore, he played all the time then. Mm-hmm. Okay. But that being said, as a freshman, I don't know, you play more. Why aren't you playing me more? You get.
There were a couple times where I wanted to quit, and you had to talk me out of it.
And people who don't know me, your friends who maybe don't know me, we're close enough that you would tell me what you thought. It wasn't your normal old school coach player relationship. You would tell me. You would say things in front of me that maybe other people wouldn't. And I don't mean inappropriate, but I knew your heart. But damn well, you're going to hear my heart too. I'm going to tell it right back to you, and that's why why we're sitting here right now, shirtless, hats on, sunglasses, whatever. I'm just saying, when you guys were a freshman, when you guys, because there were other people in your same group, whining about this or whining about that, I'd put you in your place. Let's go.
I remember the game that we were playing. It was a mid-season tournament. It was like Centralia.
Yeah.
Game.
Your junior year.
And I was playing behind a senior that I felt that I performed better than, and I got maybe 2-3 minutes of play time, and I felt like I'd put in the reps, I felt like I put in the work, and was not getting any credit. And you said, your time will come, you just keep going. It's like, all right, but I don't know what I'm doing this for. I mean, I've got 1 year left. Obviously, I was a junior in high school. I had a whole year left.
Right.
That's all you can see is 2 inches in front of your face whenever you're in high school.
Yeah, because you're 16 years old.
Right.
That's the other funny thing is when you talk about those things like.
That's your world.
And I think and again I guess we're talking about having confidence or not being arrogant, but like that's what I'm good at. Mm-hmm. I'm good at talking to 15-year-old, 16-year-old you going. I don't judge you. I don't shoot you down. I don't tell you that's not me. I'm like, come on. Yeah. I've always been really good about that. Like I make my not judgments, but I make my opinions of whatever it is you're doing based on what was I like when I was your age. It always drives me nuts when people are like, can you believe this kid? Yeah, I can, because I was that kid. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, he's 15. He doesn't know. What do you want him to be? Regardless. Well, he seems like a smart kid. No, he is. But he's also really stupid because he's 15. Because I always remember the time when you were a senior where Coach Geezer wasn't happy with you and he jerked you out of the game and you sat next to me and you're like, if this is how it's going to be, everybody else makes one mistake and everybody makes mistakes and I make one and I got to come out of the game. You're sitting right beside me. And I'm like, and I said to you, and again, I'm stupid. If you don't know me and you're listening to me, I'm not a genius, but I come up with things, I guess, at the right time. And I don't even look at you. I'm not mad at you. I just go, is that how you got to be where you're at right now? Is that attitude how you got to be as good as you are today? And I didn't say a word. And you didn't say a word either. And you go back in the game and you play great. And after the game, shaking hands, we shake hands with the other team. And you walk towards me, big hug. And you're like, you're right. I'm sorry. Whatever. And that's it. And I'm the kind of person that I'm like another dad,
Just got to let them complain.
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, I love you. Yeah, you're full of it. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't maybe necessarily fair that you got jerked out of that game. What are you going to do, cry about it? That doesn't help you. That ain't going to make you any better.
But let me tell you, for all my aces guys who may or may not listen to this later, like that is, you were talking about coachability before, and your ability to move on to the next play, that next play mentality is so important. There are guys who
That's
on our
life.
team who can play basketball, but if something doesn't go their way, it throws them off.
That's life.
That it is, and that's what I love about basketball is I feel like it is such a great vessel for how the way that life works, because you have to, like they talk about how the best shooters have the shortest memories, because you cannot base your next shot off of how the last one went. You have to approach every single jump shot as if it's the first one, and you cannot. We love Justin Duncan because he would shoot that ball whether he had missed 5 or 6 before, and he would get on a streak where he would shoot 5 or 6.
Next
and
one's
knock
in.
them all down.
Next one's in.
Shoot or shoot.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Yep.
And it took a long time for me to. I'm still learning how that, what it takes to have Justin Duncan confidence, but that confidence that it takes to not go into a game and every play is like a fresh start. And because I've always been very analytical, so I'm always judging like I don't feel it right here, so let me try something different. My game really switched whenever I stopped thinking so much and just allowed, like, thinking is for practice, doing is for the game. Turn off the thinking machine for a little while and just go out there and do what your body has been trained to do. And that's confidence. Like whenever you're not second guessing every motion that you do, there's a lot of comparisons that I've seen where if I approach the game of basketball in the same way that I approach the game of life, because it's a game. It is a game. There are rules. There are ways that you can win at the game of life if you know how it works. And if you want to know how the game of life works, get involved in a sport, because they're very similar.
Well, and you have you're writing a blog about that.
Yeah, so it's a blog called Play the Way You Live, which is, the idea behind it is the person that you are on the court or on the field, whatever sport you play, is a reflection of who you are off the court. And so I started
Give
writing.
some, like, examples of that, like lazy or like bad teammate.
Right.
Like how that applies.
Yeah, so if a lot of it shows up in discipline, so if you're an undisciplined person, if you can't get out of bed, if you don't do the things that you need to do in your everyday life, chances are you're not going to be someone who on the court does all the little things, setting the screens, taking the charges, doing the dirty work, getting the rebounds, stuff like that. I feel like I'm a very disciplined person, and that's always been my game was the second chance points, the charges. That's still what I make my game off of now is doing all the dirty work. I feel like that's reflective of who I am as a person. So it's like, even if there's no people around, like you said before, I'm going to be getting my reps in. But I think that I'm not like unique in that. I think that everybody has their personality that comes out whenever they're on the court as opposed to whenever they're, off the court. And I've found that some of my ceilings that I've busted through have taken place off the court whenever I couldn't access that next level of playing on the court. And it wasn't practice that I needed. It was like a mindset shift. It was a belief system shift that I needed. And I think that one of the biggest things is confidence. Basketball is a game of confidence. You have to believe that every shot is going in. And it was hard for me to, as an analytical, an overthinker, to believe that everything that I did was going to go well. I'm always thinking of, how could this go wrong, or this doesn't feel right. And you can't be offensively minded like that. You have to believe that everything that you do, there's like a resilience to it. And I feel like I've been building that up over the last year and a half or so, and it's been taking place off the court, just personally in my own life, doing stuff like doing yoga, spending time out in the sun, becoming a more confident human being. And there are times whenever I'll take a break from playing basketball for a week or 2 weeks, and then I go back and I feel like I'm like 10 times the player that I was before, because that confidence is taking place inside of me.
So the whole point of part of the reason why we wanted to do this, and I'm stopping you only because I want to make sure because this is who I am. And again, for the third time, we've known each other forever. Okay, so how old are you now?
28.
You're 28. How old would you have been in February, late January of 2013?
17.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to play the biggest game, maybe the biggest game of the whole regular season. And you are mentally shook a little bit about who we have coming up. Not in a bad way, not in being a baby or whatever, but you didn't believe in you. And I'm not going to name the team. It doesn't matter. Pretty darn good game that year. Ended on a last-second shot. And I remember us being in the back of Gensel's office where the uniforms were, and you were in a place where you didn't believe in you and weren't sure if you were going to be able to help us win this game we won. And you had highlights upon highlights in this game. And the conversation that we had though was like the conversation we had was, and it's not me because I'm a freaking genius, but it's like, you got to believe in you. Mm-hmm. You got to believe that you are supposed to be on the court with this 6'8" kid and this other 6'5" kid when you're 6'3", and you got to believe you're as big a part of what we're doing as this person, and you were in that game. And the reason why I bring that up is you're admitting at how old?
28.
That you still have those moments 11 years later. Mm-hmm. If you're listening to this podcast, I mean, we joked about, we're sitting here drinking beer, whatever, shirts off and whatever. But I'm hoping that that if you're listening to this, you can take that away from it, that you're 11 years older than you were when you didn't believe in you, and I told you to believe in you. And you still got to coach yourself up.
There's still moments.
You still got to coach yourself up. I'm 53 and I still got to coach myself up. Like, come on.
The challenges they're the same. They just take different forms.
Right.
And if you don't learn how to overcome a circumstance, life is going to continue to throw you the same thing over and over again in different forms until you learn how to overcome it.
Or you may never learn, and you're going to be miserable because of it. Yeah, you're going to be miserable because of it.
At the same level because they can't figure out how to say no to something, because they can't figure out delayed gratification, because they can't figure out, any number of things. Life has a funny way of testing you repeatedly, and it will not let you move on until you pass a certain level. Until you prove that you're ready.
And the point is then don't give up.
Right.
Try. Keep trying to work on you. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, you can do this. Come on, let's go.
Confidence for me.
Come on, let's go.
Really changed. There's a podcaster that I listen to a lot. His name is Alex Hormozy. He's got a podcast called The Game, and I recommend it. But he talks about how confidence is a stack of proof that proves that you are who you say you are. You do the things every single day, so you have irrevocable proof that you are who you say you are. And for me, confidence was so elusive post high school. I feel like I was very confident in high school because I was putting in the reps in high school. I was confident in it. I was in the gym before and after. I stayed longer than everybody else. I had the body to prove it. I had the playing time to prove it. And honestly, it was my faith leaders at the time that I feel like really crushed some of that, because it was always like, you're cocky, you're proud, you're prideful, arrogant.
Right.
And I really don't feel like, I get where they were coming from. I needed to live in that a little longer, I think. And I feel like too many people were making such a big deal out of a 16, 17-year-old thinking that they were the shit. Is that such a big deal in hindsight?
Yeah.
You know, like I get it, and I tried to think less of myself, but really I just like ended up kind of being hard on myself, beating myself up all the time. It's not really the lesson I wish I would have learned. I wish I would have learned how to be confident and not arrogant. And nobody taught me how to do that.
Right.
And I lost my confidence in that for a long time because I was always overthinking.
Well, one person did. I know one person that checked you on it. You know, like checked you in a nice way on it.
But you know, and there were times whenever
Is that how you got to be where you're at?
But there were times whenever I remember, you know, showing some emotion. I'm not an overly emotional person, so you know, talking shit is not really my game. But sometimes I would let it be that, and it would be whenever I'm playing really well.
You remember that article that some guy wrote? Was like, I don't like this guy. He's yelling at his teammates.
Yeah, I remember the moment. And it was like we were about to win the state championship, and I was celebrating, albeit a little prematurely. The game wasn't over yet.
Well,
and
you
Connor,
blocked a shot. Yeah,
right,
I mean, that's
and
what
Connor
it was, right?
like, you know, we haven't won the game yet, and I was like, you know, I said some stuff, but I mean, it was not. Maybe that's what people don't understand. The heat of the moment, the passion of the game makes you do things that are abnormal, but it is a powerful, primal, intuitive feeling whenever you become lost in the game.
And what's behind that is 5-6 years of grueling hard work.
Yeah.
That is like you're right there.
I am not.
There's emotion, and so people are like, overnight success, Duncan McClure out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere. It's not overnight.
Right.
But it's like they see that one little glimpse and they're like he thinks he's big. It's like, no, this is 6 years of constant work that is like boiling over in emotion. It's like,
and I think that's what the goofy thing about it is like during that run and what we did, those people don't know anything about you, or they know what coach they asked Coach Giesler to talk about the team, and they, you know, like it's so funny when, I mean, that's an entirely different podcast talking about just that kind of thing. But I remember when you were a junior and he comes to my classroom and he's like, you need to get this is after we beat Sangamon Valley. So the sectional semifinal. Yeah. We could do a podcast on that too. Like that is like no joke. That is sports aren't life, but sports are life. Yeah. Like that night, it would be fun to do a round table podcast of that. Anyway, what I was saying is he comes to my room the day after we win that. So we haven't even beat Midland to advance to the super sectional. And he's like, I need you to give me a DVD of that game. I need that burnt. And I'm like, for what? Like, I've already given it to you to do stats. And he's like, because Channel 25 needs it because they need to start learning guys' names and watching us play a little bit, because if we make it to Peoria that way, they can prep for that. And you're like, okay. Like in your JV coach and come from a place that's never won anything on that level. Like you're like, duh.
Totally.
Like I seriously, I about fell out of my chair. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, you know what? Are you serious? Because you don't even think about the fact that they do that. They don't know anything about you. They're going to call at least 2 of your games in a handful of days. If you win 2 more games, but they're having to prep for that far out. And I just remember being like, okay, I'll do that. And
Midland the dunk game.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's a good basketball story too. Like, this is why this could go on for 4 hours, because you just tangents. But yeah, when we won that crazy game, which was your breakout game, that was the game when you broke out. I have so many that game. I don't know if there's many games in my entire coaching career that choke me up as much as the Sangamon Valley game does, in the fact that there's so many things. So much had happened during that season that stunk, and we ended up fighting through it together and whatever. But anyway, Midland played the next night after we beat Sangamon Valley. So Coach Giesler and I, Coach Burks, who's our varsity coach now, his dad, Kevin Burks, one of the best coaches around, great person, Jim Entwistle, and I went up to watch them play Ridgeview because it was at Ridgeview. And Ridgeview was the number one. Like it should have been Ridgeview and Sangamon Valley according to whatever, and we upset them. And then the next night, Ridgeview gets upset, and my phone's blowing up from Con, and it's Justin's like, "How's the game going?" And Midland was not very good. We didn't think they were very good, and they were kind of upsetting them. And like, "Oh, it's pretty tough." And like, "Well, why is it?" They're online, and they're like, they're online watching the scores like, "Well, the score is this," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know." Like we really were confident that we were going to win the night that we won the sectional championship. But I'm trying to be like, I don't know.
You guys are gonna be tough.
Yeah, don't get your head. Don't get your head ahead. Don't get ahead of what we're doing. Come on. I don't know. I can probably beat us, even though I'm not arrogantly saying that we were going to win, but I knew we matched up. We matched up very well with them.
But all it would have taken was for them to be like, "Oh, we got this one in the bag,"
right.
to get caught on.
Well, then why was the score like that? I'm like, just trust me, would you? Just trust me. I'm just saying. And then we go out and we ran them out of the gym, and you get the dunk, and yeah, I found some pictures. Mrs. Fancher, who's got hired, and she's back to Illini Central now as the middle school. She's the middle school principal now. She took a bunch of pictures both of those nights, the night we won the super sectional and the night we won that game. One of my favorite pictures is Zach Harmon took Cole and put him on his shoulders holding the plaque when we won that. I was like, there's something cool about when your kids are, coaches' sons and a part of that. But yeah, you throwing that down in that game. And the game before was, your breakout. And that's why you stick with it. And that's why you do it. That's why you don't, you got to fight that self-defeating stuff that affects you no matter what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Don't look in the mirror in the morning and say you're no good. Right. Say, come on, let's go. We can do whatever we want to do. Let's do it.
And we are to the point in our lives where we're so delusional that I truly do believe anything we want to do, we could do it. It's more of like, do I want to do it? Like, the two of us put together, I got to tell you, it's called Camburgers, but it doesn't happen without him. Like, I cook, and I make these recipes, but like, I'm telling you, working with somebody that pushes you, it's a different ballgame. And I can't say enough about having somebody who pushes you and you work together to make something that you could have never done on your own. It's really special.
And I think for me, the state championship is like, we were a small school. I don't brag about it. Like it was fun. It was a blast. On the grand scheme of things, it was not that big of a deal. What we accomplished was great, but it is a tiny blip, according to everything else. But it taught me what it takes, because not many people win at the highest level. And that's, going back to, I don't know how long ago you said it, but like, I don't feel like I had anything left to prove, because we won our last game that we ever played together. And that is such a small fraction of teams that ever get to say that. They don't win on top. And it's like, I didn't feel like I had anything left to prove by going to college and being like, I deserve to be here. Like, it just wasn't on my list of things to do. But it taught me what it takes to be a championship caliber team. Obviously, we were a small school, and we were the smallest division. But like the confidence that we came in with, I got to give Coach Giesler his credit, because he did not play the shit. Like, he made us. We knew what we were supposed to do every single day. We did the same things every single day. It felt boring, and I remember like man, I wish we had a coach that was more, laid back with us, and but he taught us it is all in the details. It is in the small things. It is in the discipline and doing the small things that you do that make you great. And that was his thing, and that was why I feel like he played such a big part. Obviously, there was a lot of talent on that team, but he kept us within this system that worked, and we didn't deviate from it. We were a very disciplined team, and we were hard to beat mentally. We were hard to beat physically, and I learned a lot of how to win at life because I first learned how to win at basketball.
It's nice that you say that because it's 100% true. And if you're listening to this, it's not, I know Duncan's not saying that like trying to, wax poetic about Coach Giesler, who's been gone for a while now. And, I always tell that. I always say that. I've said this 1,000 times to people. We were doing the same drills the day before we left to go to Peoria your senior year to win the state championship that we were doing on day 1 in November. And I'm not exaggerating
It's
that.
been 12 years since we had a practice. I could recite to you a practice from front to back because we did it so many damn times.
Yeah, and I mean that sincerely. There were drills we were doing the practice before we left. The last high school basketball practice you ever had in your home gym here in town. We were doing drills that we did in November, 3-4 months earlier, because that's what you do. That's how you do it. I have this thing that Mardell, Coach Giesler's wife, gave me hanging in my office. And Lance Giesler, Coach's son, and I joke all the time about we do what we do. We do what we do. This is what we do. We do this drill. What drill? Yeah, this same boring, fundamental drill because it's going to help us win a state championship. That's what we're going to do. You don't have to like it. This is what we're doing. And you're right. It's a lot of life. Like, get your butt out of bed, go to work.
We have players who despise the boring, who despise the trivial.
9 out of 10 players.
They're not successful. They're so talented, but they're not successful.
Right.
And it's because they can't be disciplined enough to do the small things.
Well, see, I didn't even know that you guys were doing the same drills over and over, but like you're just talking about confidence, and confidence being the knowledge that you can show up and do what you do every time. And it's like he wasn't giving you basketball drills, he was giving you confidence drills that you can recite 12 years later, that like the practice front to back, so that when the crowd is roaring and you're down by 5 and there's a little bit of time, you don't have to think. You say, we've done this 1 billion times. It was annoying, but it's in my DNA now. Right. And it's like genius to be thinking about it like I'm not coaching them in basketball, I'm coaching them in confidence, which is turn the brain off, do what your body knows what to do, which is whatever these drills are that you're doing for every day for all these months. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I remember standing, I know where we were doing it. I know we were doing it on the office end of the gym. That's where we were doing it before we left. The day before we left for Peoria, I remember standing there thinking, we're doing the same damn drill.
There's nothing that you hate more as a teenager than doing the same damn thing every single day.
Let's do something fun.
Let's do something different.
And I'll do this. I'll say this story. My best friend Jerry, he was a part of like 5 state championships in football at Carthage and Illini West. And the head coach over there was very similar to Coach Giesler in terms of this is how we win, and this is what we're going to do. We're not changing things 10 million times. This is what we do. We run the football. And he always told me this story about how someone came up to him one time. He's like, Coach, have you ever thought about like throwing the football more and doing a bunch of trick plays? Wouldn't that be fun? And that coach looks at the guy and goes, well, winning's fun. And that's the end of the conversation. Like, it's not about, let's do a bunch of fun things. No, we're going to do what makes us good, and we're going to win doing it this way. And either you're going to do it or we're not going to do it. Right. And that's what I loved about him. And I will say I didn't always agree with him, but there's also a really nice big ring in the room behind me from doing it the right way and doing it the way that he did it. And clearly we were talented and had people that bought in. But in the end, you still have to have a game plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And then you stick to that plan until the end. You fight for that plan.
You know, a lot of it, chemistry is so hard to build on a team, and it's such a big part of how to make a team successful is, you know, the conversations, the locker room health, you know. And obviously we had a big benefit of having played pretty much with the same team since we were in, you know, 4th grade. But, you know, that helps a lot. But I think that, you know, Jared's willingness to buy into the system, where he could have been given a lot more leniency. He was a talented ball handler, shooter, and I feel like he got his moments for sure, but coach was not a glamorous sort of coach, you know. But I think, you know, Jared, Jordan, who was just a workhorse, he would do whatever you asked him to, and then myself, we bought into the system of this is how coach wants to coach, this is what we're going to do. And having your leaders, your captains set the tone of like, they can't be going against the flow all the time. And I think that's like, you got to have some balls on you in high school if you're going to be fighting with the head coach like that. But, you know, there are instances where
I've seen
happens.
that.
Right.
I've seen it.
Yeah. But I think that there is it was kind of one of those perfect storm sorts of things where while we might have had some egos on the team, they weren't big enough to where it overrode the mission of what we were trying to accomplish.
Well, that's what's so perfect about the metaphor about, like, you play the way you live, because, like, even down to the practice, like what you were saying is, where do you want your fun? Do you want to have fun in practice and lose? Because winning's pretty fun, or you can have less fun in practice and have fun winning. And it's like, that was one of the biggest revelations that I had, like, as a man growing up, is like, you have a choice of when you spend your fun, when you spend your freedom. And it's like, it's not really fun getting up, going to the gym. It's not fun eating healthier. It's not fun saving money. But it is really fun looking good, feeling good, and having money. So it's like you get to choose your fun. And that it just, on every level, the play the way you live just works, because it's like, yeah, it's not fun doing the same drill every time, but it's really, really fun winning the state championship. Mm-hmm. And it's like you can sacrifice the state championship fun for we're gonna play scrimmage every time, and then we're gonna go whatever, I don't know. But like, you get to choose when your fun is. Is it right now, or is it later? You know, and that's like, I just on every level of the play the way you live metaphor, it just works. Any sport, any situation, it's like, I love it.
It's all in that delayed gratification. Yeah. You know, you're giving up the satisfaction of enjoyment now
in the moment,
or later.
Right.
And I feel like that is a big test that life throws at you, is how much are you willing to give up now so that you can have it multiplied back later. Right. Yeah. And people who are indulgent of, I'm just going to take everything, I'm all about right now. Life is short, so I'm just going to enjoy. And there's a point to it. You know, you're not guaranteed. You could die in a car accident tomorrow. It is a possibility. It happens all the time. But at the same time, you have to believe that there is like, there's a reason, like the character of a person who says, I am not going to indulge today so that I can enjoy tomorrow better, and makes that a philosophy of life. They live a better life, in my opinion. It's more fulfilling. It is healthier. It is more purpose-filled, and it is hard. It is not fun all the time. You know, I'm 28 now, which is a little, I don't know. I kind of wish I would have been learning this stuff a little bit earlier, but you know, it is what it is. I think that now I truly believe it, and it like feels a part of me. But I think that the lessons that I've been learning are setting the course for the life that I'm going to live in the future.
I guess the thing too is, like, when I think about what you're saying, you know, like when you say that about being 28, like I always say, I thought I was pretty smart 22, and I wasn't. thought I was really smart, or I actually thought I was really smart.
Wherley,
22,
I've got it all
and I
figured
went,
out over here, just so you know.
32, 42. You don't. And I think when we go back to the basketball for just one quick second, we won because, and you had said it, before Cameron made a good point. Part of the reason why we won is because you knew what your role was. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to be the star. You would attest. Jared would chew you out. And you didn't think you were more important, but you didn't think you were more important than what you were.
Right.
And you took it and what's best for us. Mm-hmm. Not what's best for me, what's best for us. Because hopefully we want this thing, and I got to put me back here, and I got to worry about we up here, which sounds, but it's the truth. That's why we won. Mm-hmm. We won because it was us, not me.
I remember during the Nokomis game, whenever I was getting off, I had like 24 and 15, and I had made every single field goal that I'd put up, and I was feeling hot. It was one of those moments where the rim feels like an ocean, like you can't miss. Everything is just going in, and I take a little jumper about like one step in from the 3-point line, which is uncharacteristic for me. And I missed it, so I went 10 for 11, which, as far as I know, is still a record at the state level for the highest field goal percentage. But he chewed me out. And
don't use the language he used, but
but he basically told me, "Why are you going outside of your game?"
Yeah,
and it was like, first of all, how dare you?
Right.
I was 10 for 10.
Right.
I want to go.
Right.
Yeah. Duncan gets a heat check every once in a while. But it showed his dedication to, we do not go outside of the roles that we're given.
Yeah.
And nobody, if anybody would have earned the right to go outside of their role for that game, it would have been me.
Yeah.
But that is not what we did. That's not who we were.
Right.
And if we would have constantly been fighting that battle of, well, Justin's hit a few shots, so he is just going to be the star of the show, it would have all gone to shit.
Right.
And if we would have constantly been playing that game, every single game, we never would have accomplished what we did. So it was that strict adherence to, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and we don't deviate from it.
Yeah.
It was, I watched back to that championship game. Might be one of the most boring games of basketball.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
Terrible.
It's a terrible game to watch.
It is terrible.
I think I've only watched it one time through ever.
Hard to
I'll
watch.
skip to the good part at the end, but I've not, because I remember sitting there. I mean, again, gosh, we could talk forever, but I remember sitting there thinking, I thought we were going to get beat.
And coach's interview after the game, we got out rebounded, we got outshot, we shot less free throws, we had more turnovers, and we still won the game.
Yeah.
And that sums up the entirety, I think. Like, we could not be beat because we were so disciplined.
Yeah, and I think I posted it a couple of years, maybe I posted it on the 10th anniversary, but Justin's quote, someone puts a microphone in front of his face, and they basically say what you were just saying. How do you win this game when you got out-rebounded, you out this, you out that? Jim Matson puts his microphone in his face. How'd you guys win this game? We play defense, we play as a team, and we love each other. Mm-hmm. That's life. That's life.
Mm-hmm. You find your team.
You find your, you right, yep. Mm-hmm. You play defense, meaning you stick together, you compete, you have each other's back, because that's the way we play. That's the way we play defense.
Defense is not the fun part.
Defense.
No, and defense, the way we played it, you cover for one another, you work your butt off to do your job. Yet you still know that I got somebody behind me that's gonna cover for me.
You
trust them, right? I do right, yeah, because someone's gonna rotate. We did defensive rotation every day.
Yep.
Play defense, play as a team, meaning it's not about me, it's about we, and we love each other. I mean, that's why we have state championship rings.
We won the worst game that we'd ever played.
Maybe the worst win, clearly the ugliest win we had all year. Yeah. Definitely, especially in that situation. And again, when you said earlier that it's just a blip in your life, it is a blip in our life in this way. Basketball's not that big a deal. But what made it a big deal is those three things and what we've been talking about, because that can be
that's the blueprint.
That can be applied to everything you
blueprint.
ever do.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And I say this all the time to people. When we get together, we tell stories through basketball, but the stories are what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's the relationships. It's the understanding that, hey, it's you this time. It's me, this guy. Like, it isn't about basketball. The best memories of that aren't basketball, hoop, court. They're not those memories. They're what we did together memories. Mm-hmm. Sacrifices you made together memories. Mm-hmm. The whole love thing. Love it. We got third and hated it.
We won our last game of the season in that season too.
Yeah.
Did not feel as good.
I remember hugging Zach after that game, thinking, at least we got to end the last game we ever stepped on the court together. We won. Mm-hmm. And then the year we win it, we're taking pictures. I actually have the picture in my office back here. We're out in the foyer, and it's the team. It's the seniors. And you guys drag him in there. Come on, get in here. I mean, Zach's there in street clothes, get in this. That's what life is about. That's what it is. And that's what I get it. I know people who don't like sports and think sports and there's bad coaches and bad officials and bad this. But the bond we built from that is what matters. Mm-hmm. It really is. And whether you won or you didn't win. I've coached teams that didn't win anything. Mm-hmm. And it's still, I didn't win anything in sports as a kid, but the relationships that I built with my friends, those are the things that matter. And if you don't focus on those things, honestly, you're going to be miserable. Mm-hmm. You're going to be miserable.
There's a proverb, I think it's Proverbs 25. It says, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it's the glory of kings to uncover a matter. And so in basketball, in sales, in burgers, and whatever you do, there is a gift hidden in it that is God's glory to hide, and it is our glory to find it. And when we go play basketball and pull these things and say, wow, look what I learned from basketball, look what I learned from burgers, from sales. These are like little gifts that about life that God hides in these things.
And they're everywhere.
And he loves when we find them.
Mm-hmm.
And that verse is so cool because like every time you have a revelation or you learn something, it's like, wow, God hid that for me to find. And when I find it, he loves that. And so it's just so cool. You could, if you wanted to, you could say it's just basketball.
Right.
And leave it at that. And not dig any deeper. Say it's just a hamburger, or it's just sales, or it's just a song. But like when you dig in and say, what did you hide in here for me to learn about you?
Right.
It's like you're getting into the...
There's blueprints everywhere.
Yeah.
There's blueprints. There's a phrase, as above, so below, which says that in the planes of the way the higher realms work, the things that we consider spiritual or heavenly, there are traces of the same logic in the trivial. So, kind of that relationship between, the blueprints of life are hidden in basketball or in sports. It's that concept of as above, so below. And I think that being a part of a team is such a fundamental human experience, because that's like the language that so many corporate cultures use, is we're a team, we're a family, mm-hmm. we do these things together. They're trying to recreate that camaraderie that you feel as a part of a sports team. It's like the concept of this group of people is all going towards a singular goal, and they're doing it together. And I feel like that's a really hard feeling to capture in today's world, because so many people's goals are scattered all over the place.
Right.
And for some people, this might be the only experience that they have where they're part of a team, where they're going towards the singular goal. We were very fortunate that like our goal realistically was to win a championship. The moment our junior season ended, the goal was to win a state championship the next year. Not everybody's fortunate enough to have that experience, but that was ours, and we were, disciplined and skilled and loved the game enough to accomplish it. But it teaches you what it costs to get there.
Well, and we put ourselves in, you have to put yourself in a position where good things can happen to you. Mm-hmm. You turn your ankle in the first game of the year.
Yeah.
Somebody's looking out for you, and it's not broken, and you don't miss the next 9, 10, 11 games. Jared hurts his arm in the sectional final, and we get an ice storm that moves the super sectional game back a day. When he's at practice the day before we should have played, and those of you who don't know, he's left-handed. He's catching all of his passes by deflecting it with his right hand to his left hand because he can't lift his right arm. It was his shoulder, actually. Hurt his shoulder. I mean, it's like, I'm not saying somebody wanted us to win, but you got to get some breaks sometimes. Things got to go your way sometimes. But you also have to put yourself in a position where when those things happen, you're ready to take advantage of the opportunity that you've been given. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think it is crazy how the universe will work in favor. God works in favor for those who are prepared, and the ones who put in the work. And I think that it's always funny as an athlete, at whatever level, to know, like, whenever you're praying for a victory or whatever, it's like, how much does God really care who wins this? And there's someone on the opposite end that's praying the same prayer, so it's like, what does that really mean? But there are some times whenever, like, the universe gives those little gifts to the people who, like, we call them miracles, and I think that it's really fun to, there's the miracle on ice. It seems like sports has a very clear, like, it is a level playing field for miracles to happen. Right. And it's fun to see how those play out sometimes.
Yeah, because God didn't care whether we won that game or not, or won the state championship. You had to have some things go your way. Mm-hmm. That just, it could have been worse. This could have been way worse. This could have been worse. And in the end, we capitalized on it, and, we made great memories that in the end, the fact that we have state championship rings doesn't make our lives any better than anybody else's. We just have great stories to tell and great memories that we have.
But I think you look at the fruits of the players that were on that team, we're all successful in our own rights.
Yeah.
It taught us all that same lesson of, like, what it takes to be a winner.
Right.
And all of us have been applying it in our own ways. All of our lives look a little bit different, but it's like we all know what it takes to be successful, and I think all of us are applying that same fervency that we applied to basketball in our personal lives that we're building, in our personal brands. And it's really cool to see that there's not really anybody who's been left behind. I think that we're all still hard workers, we're still disciplined, we're still accomplishing a lot, and I don't think it's always about how much money that you earn, or
because it's not, because you can make a lot of money and be miserable, and you can lay in bed and be like, I don't like where I'm at. Mm-hmm. Let's say this to end the discussion of the great class of 2013. I've had multiple conversations with one of my best friends in Illini Central, and we've talked all the time about your class left an impact on Illini Central. And I think the lesson from that is this: not because we won, because you did lots of things, and it was about the lessons that we're talking about. You loved the school you were at. You sacrificed for it. You did you were involved in multiple things. When you guys graduated, Illini Central was different. It just was, in terms of, like, because there were so many big personalities. Give of yourself to what you're involved in, and nothing bad's going to really happen. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part, if you give of yourself to something, a cause, your high school, whatever, good things are going to happen. If you're reserved and what's in it for me and why, you know, what is it? Like, your class was like that. And, you know, the senior class that just graduated, they had almost everybody was involved in something. That's a good thing. You don't have to win state championships. You just give of yourself. Sacrifice you for we, and we got good things are going to happen. And then Cameron's sitting here with us, and obviously, like I said, my son's in his class. I'm not saying there or any, but if you're listening to this and you're like, well, what about my class? I'm just saying, in your life, if you put yourself out there, good things come back to you. I know it from my own personal experience. So Cameron, let's get away from Duncan's class and state championships.
It is called Camburgers after all.
It is called Camburgers, yeah. Wouldn't you love to have a brother that named the whole thing after himself? Anyway, Cam, let's go to sports just for a little bit longer, and then we'll transition. You played on some teams baseball-wise. It didn't win, not a thing. But the point is this. There's got to be something that goes along with what we're saying from that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we were not a unit. We had a bunch of people who didn't care that much and just showed up, and
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, what lessons did you learn from that? Because, again, I came from a place where we didn't win anything.
Sure.
Where I graduated from high school has not won a regional championship since I was 6. I'm 53 years old. So, like, that can't mean that nothing positive has happened in that time from 1970 whatever.
Right. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for getting us in the Sangamo and Tomahawk Conference. Thanks a lot.
We were in it way before him.
We did not belong in that conference.
We were in it way before.
Dude. They had D1 athletes pitching against us, dude.
We were in it way
it was the JV
before.
Team, boys.
Yeah.
We had some freaking prospects going 90 miles an hour by us. Not cool, guys. No, I mean, the confidence thing. Baseball is, famous for the slump. You hear people talking about slumps. Hitters go 0 for 20, and you just walk up there with your shoulders slumped like, I just know I'm going to strike out again. And it's like, I'm not going to lie to you, I got into some depressions from 0 for 20 streaks. I'm like going on.
Sorry to bring up the bad stuff. Jeez, I didn't know.
Yeah, no. But for real, I mean, I was young, and I didn't really taste success, so it was a little harder for me to learn. But looking back, I know that a lot of times, you have a choice in baseball because the offense and defense are split up. You do offense, and then you switch, and you do play just defense. And so what's nice about that, and what I wish I would have known, is that, like, when you're on offense, think about offense. When you're on defense, think about defense. And so many times I would strike out and be pissed off, and then I would go out and make an error because I'm still thinking about what I could have done in the batter's box. Whereas what should have happened is I should have put that away and said, okay, what can I do right next? What is the next right thing for me to do? The next right thing for me to do is to do what I know to do and do it correctly. And there were plenty of times where me or a teammate would just be still hung up on something that happened on offense, and then that affects the way you play your defense. And I'm sure that's the same on basketball. You miss a shot, you don't hustle down. And that is like, that just makes your loss on the offense even worse because it's compounding to the defense.
Yeah, because you lost again. Now you
lose again.
You've lost again. You've made another. You've screwed it up for everybody else because
right.
You struck out. Big deal. Now go make another play.
And do the right thing next. Yeah. As in life, you make a mistake. You will make mistakes, and the next thought has to be, okay, what is the next right thing for me to do? Because I'm not going to be able to make that choice again. The choice is made.
Yeah.
And okay, that's done. let me turn my attention to the next thing. What is the next right thing to do? And if you're not thinking that, then it's easy to just make another mistake because you're so flustered or angry or confused or upset if you're just going based off how you feel from making a mistake. But like the important thing is, okay, that was a mistake. What is the right thing to do now?
But isn't it funny though, musically, like if you miss a note or you break a stick or whatever, like you don't careen out of control musically, right? For the most part, you gather yourself because you got to, because it's going 100 mile an hour.
Make everybody think you did it on purpose.
Yeah. But in sports, next thing you know, you've struck out 10 times in a row and you've airmailed it to first base 10 times in a row. Like, it's weird that they're not the same in that way.
Yeah.
Right?
But also same in the fact that if you have to be a lot faster with that mindset in music, because if you say, I messed up, even just the thought of saying, I messed up, you can miss the next thing too. Mm-hmm. And it just has to be miss that. What's the next thing I need to hit? Because you have to get back on the track.
Right.
Because the mistakes can compound.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're like, I ruined that song. And then, but there's another song. So you can either say, I ruined the show, or you can say, okay, that's done. Can't do anything about that. What can I do right now to make this next song what I know to do? And I mean, so is basketball, as in life, as in music, as in anything. It's like you have to, if you make a mistake, which you will all the time, you make mistakes, you have to switch it to what did I learn? What can I do right this time? Yeah. And I mean, that's what's so exhilarating about starting a business and just doing new things.
We're out here winging it. We don't know what we're doing.
I know you guys are. I know you both. You're totally winging the
what is working?
The Dunk Burgers thing or whatever it's called.
But the exciting thing is it's like we've changed our mindset to like, I really don't want to mess up, to I can't wait to see what we can do different.
Right.
Because it's like, I mean, I went ice skating over the winter and people were making fun of me because I fell 3 times. And I'm like, you're making fun of me because I fell, but I'm trying to skate. You're trying not to fall.
Right.
And it's like, I don't want to go out doing this trying not to fall. I'm cool with falling. I'm going to fall. If I'm going to skate, I'm going to fall. That's part of it. But like getting excited to say, I'm going to fall instead saying, I'm going to learn. Like every time we go out, a little bit less now, but when we were first going out, it's like we learned 4 or 5 things every single time. We're like, oh, that's way better. And it's like so exciting to have that mindset, because it's like every time we do something, we get to learn something new. Yeah. And like, even on a grand scheme, if it never reaches this huge, gigantic pinnacle, we can't fail, because if we fail, we learn. And that's not a failure, because I can put that in my pocket and use it for the next. No one can defeat me, because if it's a loss, I'm learning. And if it's a win, I win.
Right.
And that's like,
as a coach, I've seen that. It's either you win or you learn.
Yeah. Right.
You don't lose. Well, you lose if you don't learn something from whatever just happened.
But it is 100% perspective. And that's something that is really hard to teach, if not impossible, because that is like up to the person to, it's like not knowledge. It's not like you have to be more positive.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, okay, but I don't want to be. Well, so what?
Right.
Like being negative versus being positive is not an information issue. It is what kind of person are you? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I have learned personally is there's a guy that I work with who is just an overtly positive, like to the point where it's a little painful sometimes to be around them. But it's like that person will not lose. It is impossible for them to lose, because every single thing that they encounter is a win. That's how they see it.
Learning is as valuable as winning.
Yes. And it's like,
I can't lose.
This person can't can't be defeated because they're going to do everything that every encounter is going to be a win for them, and that's how they see it.
Another proverb, the righteous fall 7 times, get back up an 8th. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can't lose until
What's
you
the
decide
number?
to lose. I don't remember what the proverb
Sorry,
number
everybody.
is.
We can't give you the number. We can't give it. Yeah, we're just making
yeah,
up. We're just
sorry.
making up
I'm not
proverbs
making
now.
up
That's where we're
proverbs.
at.
I'm not
Just
making-
making it. It's Proverbs number 9572. I don't know what it is, but
Okay.
so
You're not righteous.
no, that's probably
You fall 6 times, get up 5.
That's infinitely true. So the Camburgers thing, real quick, before we move on to the next topic, as we get ready to wrap it up, because I do have to make pizza for you tonight. Gage is on his way home, probably as we speak. So this Camburgers thing, it's got to be fun, though. You know, even though I busted you for calling it a podcast, Duncan. Come on. What's the best part? What's the best part about it?
Wherley
Yeah, the
podcast.
Anthony Wherley. Yes, 100%. My dad in heaven looking down, thinking, the Anthony Wherley. Who do you think you are? That's exactly what he said. What's the best part of it?
Oh man, you're gonna have to ask him too because it'll probably be different. But to me,
Well, yeah, of course. He's sitting right here. I'm
Camburgers.
just asking you first. It
All
does
Southern
have your.
things.
It does have the
Or
whole
at least
thing.
Ask my peon employee
It
what he
does.
thinks
It does
too.
have. It must be more important to ask you because your name got to be in it. He has a sauce named after him or a burger or
What's best about
something.
Camburgers that it's mine and only mine and it's named after me.
My
And I
name's
get
right
all
there
the,
in
I
it.
get all the glory. That's the best part.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
And you get to act like Hulk Hogan or whatever. You
Yeah,
do,
it's
whatever you
a
do.
great time. No, seriously, the best part is like we've been doing quote unquote Camburgers for 2 years. We would go out and set up a little tent and listen to classic rock and be bashful, polite fellas and say, "Hi guys, you want a burger?" And we would.
Whoa,
make a
whoa,
burger.
whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
You bashful, please.
I know. All jokes
Please.
aside. All jokes
Yeah.
aside.
No, right. No, I don't believe that one
Se-
second. but-
selling something that has your name on it is an opportunity for someone to reject. An opportunity for someone to say, "I don't like this. This isn't good." And
It's hard to hide behind something that's got your name on it,
It's
too.
it's just a burger, but it's like to me, I'm hearing you are not good. I don't like you, and that's like, and so I was approaching it with this.
Ham burgers.
I'm Cam. You hate
Stinks.
me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You suck.
Yeah.
You hate me. So it's like for the first little bit, it was kind of like this. Please don't hurt my feelings. This burger's really good, and I hope you love it. And the burger was good, but in May is when we tell people that we officially launched Camburgers because that's when we had the decision to stop selling burgers and start selling ourselves, start selling an experience. And so I would say the funnest part to back around and answer the question is tapping into the most unfiltered, loud part of myself as my job. Like it is my duty to be the most outrageous, obnoxious version of myself because
I've never seen that, so I'm looking forward to the future of it.
because it is no longer my job to just make a burger and cook. It is my job to give people an experience where they say, I remember that guy. I remember how I felt when I went there. And I mean, getting to do it, and not everyone's as lucky to have a business partner that is their brother. Okay. So it's like, it's been really fun to do that together because I've gotten to see Duncan kind of step out of his comfort zone. He was always, when we were kids, kind of more on the nobody look at me, nobody
puss.
if I would be loud and he would be embarrassed. That was the dynamic. But
Never seen it.
When we switched our mindsets, now Duncan's like, okay, well I got to tap into something new to make this happen because it can't be just me. It's it's got to be both of us. And so it's been the biggest blast for me to no holds barred, be loud and be myself, and then also see him lean into that too. I just have moments of gratitude all the time where I'm like, I can't believe my job is to act like a fool and make people laugh and make burgers for them.
And boy, let me tell you, do the people respond to it. Like, so we just did Burger Week
Yeah.
a couple weeks
Saw it
ago.
on-
So Nashville Scene is
Saw it on the
Channel 17.
we saw it on social media, and yes,
Yep. So Nashville Scene
the
is a
news
magazine
people
in town.
the news people who, no offense
Ate
to
us
them,
up.
I don't know their
Yeah.
names. They ate you up, but they were not prepared for what was going to happen.
Not at all.
Because I was like, they're not ready for this. Like, I knew what was going to happen because I've known you since you were little boys. But I was like, these clowns, they don't know what's getting ready to happen. So,
But so Nashville Scene had us for Burger Week, and there was like 60 plus restaurants in Nashville. They put forward one burger that is like their Burger Week burger. It's $7, and so we use that as like our launching point where we were going to introduce Cam Burgers to the city. And so we were posted up on a busy intersection, and we were out by the road, so we were like flagging people down. We were flexing at them. We were waving them in, pointing, barking at them and everything. And like the people, it seems so insignificant. I'll tell the story about Lloydster.
Oh yeah.
So there's this guy named Lloyd. He came up and he was this tall, skinny, really unassuming guy. He came up with his son. He's probably like in his mid 40s, something like that. And he was kind of dorky looking.
sorry, Lloyd.
Sorry, Lloyd. I'm about to give you lots of flowers
Lloyd, if you
after
listen
this.
to this, sorry.
Different
Lloyd, you're my dog.
Lloydster.
Must be talking about somebody else.
So we had this was kind of towards the beginning of the week, so we were still kind of feeling out this whole thing. And we were kind of matching the energy of the people that would approach us. And so he was kind of shy initially until we figured out that his name on Venmo was Lloydster. And so that was like, oh, so this guy will play
party
this
animal.
guy will play
animal
ball with
Lloydster.
us. So we started treating Lloyd like Lloydster, and he started responding to it. And it is so cool to see how people just like bloom into their full childlike selves whenever they're given the safety to do so. And when I tell you, Lloyd became he became Lloydster.
He did. Yeah.
He became the Lloydster, and he was just like laughing with us and joking with us. And whenever he was leaving, he rolled down his window of his minivan and he was like, "This was awesome. You guys are awesome. This was a blast." And then just starts laying on his horn, beep, 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 as he's driving away. And it's like, how many other burger places are given that? Like, that is what we do that is unique, because how often as an adult do you get to be a kid again? And I asked Cam the other day, like, do you feel more like a boy or like a man? And I feel like a boy most of the time and a man when I need to be. And I think that is where I want to stay. I don't want to feel like a man all the time, because a man has this responsibility where you have to be in charge, you have to be responsible, but you can't play. You can't lay off the responsibility pedal. It has to be all the way. You have to provide, you have to protect, you have to, like, there are responsibilities you have to be in. But as a boy, you can just play. You don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z all the time.
Right.
And the pressures of this world of having to provide and having to protect, and you've got this going on and that going on and all this stuff that's going on in the economy, politically, socially, it is hard to just be a kid. For women, it's hard to just be a girl and turn off woman mode. It's hard to be a man and turn off the boy mode. But whenever we're out there doing something as simple as just slinging patties, we get to bring out the kid in people. And they get to play with us for just the 5 minutes that they're with us, but it changes their day. And that is a really, I think, a really valuable gift, because this world will beat you down and doesn't give you many opportunities to be a kid again. But I think that being a kid is the most valuable and most fun thing that you can do, regardless of how old you are.
Yeah.
That's deep. The
It's not
burgers,
just burgers.
I know Cam
Not just
burgers.
burgers.
Everybody, Cam burgers. If you're in Nashville, they're deep. So, but I mean, I agree with you. Yes, I'm 53 years old, and I'm more of a child than I am an adult. I was talking today at work. I can tell you what year an album came out, but I can't tell you the answer to a math problem. You say X plus Y equals, who cares? I don't care. Tell me when 1999 from Prince came out. Tell me that. That's what I want to know.
And sometimes people just need to learn how to relax.
Yeah,
that was the lesson.
Especially in the world we live in today. Yeah, in the world we live in today, chill out.
How to look silly sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta chill. Yeah, I can handle looking silly.
I hate to look silly.
Yeah.
But you put me out there in a jersey and a red, white, and blue cowboy hat and some shades, and I'll start looking goofy. And the craziest part is you realize how little people give a shit if you look silly or not.
Well, yeah, I agree with
They
that.
don't care.
Yeah.
People don't care. They will smile at you or they won't, and they'll move on with your day. And it is so insignificant whether people think you are silly or not.
Yeah. I mean, if you're wearing SpongeBob pajama pants at Walmart,
People don't care.
Yeah.
They might judge you for a second.
I do.
But they will move
most
on.
people don't.
They will move on. They will move on. And that's what I needed to learn was like, first of all, people don't care about you that much. That
Not as important as you
you're
think.
not as important
Like
as you
Duncan
think you
McClure
are.
from the 2013 Illini Central Cougars is out here in a cowboy hat pointing.
People don't care.
What?
People don't care.
People
That's why
do
you
not
name
care.
your business Cam Burgers.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Or you name your podcast The Anthony Wherley's Podcast. Because nobody cares. But you care a little
But
bit.
you care.
Right.
But
okay.
But if
so
you care,
now, here we go. Let's go to the important stuff. We all grew up in music households. Yours was better than mine. I love my mom and dad, but I have played Name That
shout
Tune.
out Tony and Missy McClure.
Yep.
Tony and Missy
The
McClure,
goat at
right?
Name That Tune.
The goat. Well, I'm the goat.
Oh,
We'll
that's not
see.
what they say.
We'll see.
That's not what they say.
Yeah, they must have been drinking.
They were.
I've never seen more marital strife during an absolute game of Name That Tune than those two. The things they say to one another, it's insane. And I can't wait to hear what they say after they listen to this. But it's inappropriate, the things they say. They get mad at one another. Usually I've already answered it, and they're waiting to come in second and third. But so let's talk this real quick before we finish this up, because I got to make you pizza from
Scratch.
Wherley's Pizzeria.
Shout out Wherley's Pizzeria.
Yeah, I'll be doing a Hulk Hogan impression soon.
That's what I'm talking about. baby.
Oh yeah.
Your parents, obviously, we grew up at the same time period. So I've said this in multiple podcasts recently, talking music with my friends, different friends. And I love my mom and dad, joking about yours, and love your mom and dad to death, obviously. But my parents weren't big music listeners like yours were. And I would assume you listened to a lot of different kinds of music in your house growing up. What are the 80s influences because of your parents that get you today? What are the things that, grab your supercomputers that, you put in your pocket and give me a top five artists or whatever, albums, whatever. I don't really care, but I got to tie some music into this. What are the things that your mom and dad listened to when you were a kid that influenced your listening today, or Cameron, especially for you, the music that you help produce or whatever? What are they? What are the things? So we'll go back and forth. Like
Okay.
One of you can go. The guy Cam Burgers can go, and then Dunk Sauce can go next.
Okay, so I got my top 5 list here of my influences, and I love talking music with you because it's not about the frequency or the chord progression or the bass line. It is about how it makes you feel, which more than all of that is what we're chasing. It's like, how does this song make me feel? Does it inspire me? Does it make me feel like a kid? And so I love talking with you because
Thank you.
You have that, you are in tune with what you like, which is, how does this make me feel? Because you don't know. You don't know.
I am a dummy who knows nothing but music. So
That's
yes,
perfect. That's
a little bit of basketball, a little bit of history, nothing else. and music.
You run a song by that guy, and if it passes that test, you know it's
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate that.
You know it's
So
good. So let me jump in. So my number 5 is "Time After Time" by Cyndi Lauper, and I'll give a quick overview of why it's so influential to me and why I love it so much. Number 1 reason, that is like a 5-6 instrument song, and it's like one of those songs that is just perfect for me. It's drums, bass, electric guitar, synth, vocals, background vocals. Simple. The drums are, you could play drums for a month and learn how to play that song. It's not like a hard song. It's just a perfect song. And the guitar tones are classic. The synth is classic.
This sounds like a lot of the weeds for somebody who is.
It is. But at the end of the day, like what grabs me about it is the simplicity of it. When you probably don't know that. You probably don't know that. Oh,
I don't have any idea what you were just talking about.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You're dumb as a box of rocks.
And don't care. I don't care what you're just talking about.
As a producer, that's what you go for. If you can make a song feel good with 6 instruments, you are making money. And it doesn't matter if a song has 50 or 5. If it makes you feel good, it's right. So "Time After Time" is my number 5.
I just fell asleep actually listening to you.
Oh boy!
But no, I mean it's funny because like that album came out in 1983. Is most popular for girls just want to have fun.
Banger. Also, that would have been my top 10 if we were doing 10.
Yeah, whatever. But like that song, that's it. Like when you're my age, and you guys are older than my friend Caleb, who I've done some podcasts with, who just graduated from Illini Central. And even you guys, though, you're coming to that music later. That came out when I was 12.
Yeah, can't imagine.
And you just like, Time After Time, the minute that comes on, it's just
instant classic.
Floods memories and whatever. And the way your heart felt about a girl or whatever the thing is. I don't even say it is about that song, but that's what's funny when I discuss music like this with someone besides people who are my age. My best friend Jerry, who's a year younger than me, is just like, it's different. That's why music's great. And I feel for the kids today, other than the GOAT, whatever her name is, they don't get that. I don't know if they're getting that right now. I don't know if they're getting songs that when they're our age at 53 and whatever Cameron is, 25 and 28 or whatever. I don't know if you're getting that today.
Yeah.
When your list already has one 80s song on it, that lets me know where we're at.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Well, we're talking 80s, but I mean, if I asked you to pick whatever, I guarantee you that list still has 80s songs on it.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
I could probably, for all 5 of these songs, I could point to any one of the songs I've ever written and tell you what specific part was inspired by one of these 5.
Because I can't see them because I'm blind as a bat. But number 2, I know what it is already just from looking. Go ahead. Number 4.
So number 4, I have "Jump" by Van Halen. That is like the sweet spot of like what if there's a song I wish I could have written as Coach's kid, that's the one. The synths are perfect. The guitars are awesome. It makes you try to tell me that you're not revved up whenever you hear boom, dun, dun, dun. It's like it. I'm probably gonna bore you with this too. What I love about Van Halen is that Eddie Van Halen's a ripping guitar player. They're considered heavy at the time, right?
They're a hard rock band, yeah. They're not hair metal.
Yeah. And so what I love about them, though, about what's consistent through their music, is that it's really melodic, which sometimes you don't get with metal music. It's more guitars and kind of drums, but it's like they're dance the night away. Like they have hooks that like stick with you. These melodies like dig into your soul and make you feel something. It's like I'm obsessed with every element of that song. The synth solo is like, it's what I want. I want my friends who play guitar to play guitar solos on my song. I want to put synth solos in my song. I want to have these big drum moments. That's like, there's a few, again, every song on here on my list.
Here's what's funny, is I just recorded an episode on Sunday night. We're doing this on Tuesday, and I don't know what order I'm going to release them in. I'm going to release this one before I release the other one I'm talking about. But my friend Matt came over, and we did a Van Halen draft. So we drafted the songs from Van Halen. And my first, I think, 4 songs were off of 1984, which has Jump on it. He picked something else, number 1. We did it back in like Serpentine. He picked 1, I picked 2. And Jump, the funny thing about what you were saying is David Lee Roth hated, and I love David Lee Roth. He is my favorite. He hated the fact that Eddie Van Halen wanted to go to the synthesizers. I remember hearing Eddie Van Halen in an interview say David Lee Roth was always getting on him about, like, you're a guitar hero, why are you doing the synthesizer? And Eddie loved that. Yeah. That's why that album is, I'll Wait. The song on that one is all synth. It's so good. So yeah, it's a good song, obviously.
I'm a big synth guy.
And, you put it into a video when your brother dunks it in a game. And you post it online because you're the king. I'm the king of that. Yeah.
Easy. Number 3, I got Take On Me. This is, overplayed. A lot of people, go.
I don't think so.
It's a white person song, but
I'm serious. I don't think it is overplayed.
It's one of those moments. I would.
In the music video,
one of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best. One of the best videos ever. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And the ending of the song in the music video is different than the studio ending, and it ends on this introspective chord progression, and you're like, dang, dude.
I know.
That is perfect.
I love the chord progression in that.
All right.
Yeah, I remember thinking that.
I guess a lot of these are going to have some technical answers, but at the end of the day, it's how they make me feel, okay? So, first of all, music video is great.
Mm-hmm.
The halftime, it's perfect, okay? The synth melody taken by Pitbull.
Pitbull stole that?
He sure did.
Yeah.
I just want to feel this.
They should sue him.
Yeah, stole it. Okay. But, you talk about songs that transcend space and time.
That's one of them.
It's a perfect song. You don't think perfect?
Perfect is a huge word, but it's a really good 80s song. You're right. It encompasses the 80s. I agree with that.
Yeah. And
because here's the thing. Again, I'm blind. Even if I put my cheaters on, it doesn't help. I look over at your phone. I know what the next song is, and the next song is infinitesimally better than this song. The next song is perfect. This song is good. Yeah. Good song. I'm not arguing with you, but throwing the word perfect around, as we said earlier in this pod, if you're still with us after 15 hours, it's perfect is wrong, but it's a good song.
Let me say, by perfect, I mean
mid.
There's nothing I would change.
Okay.
I think from top to bottom, that song is exactly what it was supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
There's not like, I wish if they only would have tweaked this. I have a list of like 100 songs that I consider perfect. Obviously, some are better than others, but like in terms of as a song, what it's supposed to be,
the marble could not be chiseled anymore.
Right,
That's
nailed
exactly what it needed to be.
So Take On Me, that's a classic.
All right.
Number 2, special one in my heart. Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Your mom's gonna cry when she hears this that you picked this second. This is second on your list. Your mother right now has just heard this. Dear.
Let me tell you, I listened obsessively to this song my sophomore year of high school. Probably, I'm one of those people who will listen to about 6 songs every few months on repeat 1,000 times.
Squeeze every ounce of joy out
every
of
ounce.
those bad boys.
I will listen to
There's
every
nothing
second.
wrong with that. No, there's not.
It's how I do it. I listen to every single second, catch every nuance, every lyric, every little part, and I get it from top to bottom. I hear every version of it. In my sophomore year of high school, I listened to this probably from October to February 3 times a day. And I was upset. I asked my parents, where were you when you first heard it? What was going on in your life when it was popular? And that just adds to the lore of what my parents being in love and hearing this song for the first time. Can't imagine. But lyrically, poetry. Song's poetry. Beautiful. The way it makes you feel. I wasn't alive when it came out, but I feel like every time I hear that, I'm like in a convertible
middle school, high school dance.
Yeah. And this is the number 2 song. It's what me and my mom are going to dance to when I get married. We decided on that a long time ago.
I may have heard that story before, or I may have already known that.
Yeah.
Let me give you my 2 cents on it.
Yep.
It is something else. It is. You can't touch it in, it is in that pool. If you said you have a list of perfect songs, it's definitely in the pool. And I remember my sister, it was my present to my sister Christmas that year, whatever year it ended up being. And again, it was one of those, I'm sure it was released in one year, but it got super duper popular in the next. I think it's 85, I think. I'm going to end up being wrong. If only I had a supercomputer in front of me to check it. But I put it in a box, this huge box. So it's the cassette. But I put it in a big box with newspaper because you're doing the trickies. I'm getting something. My brother got me a big present, and it's a cassette. And I'll never forget that, and I'll never forget how great that song is. That song is a masterpiece. It is what music is all about. It is what 80s music is all about. And there's nothing else to say. If you don't like it, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you.
It was the first song I ever learned the guitar solo on. That is the one song that I was like, I've got to figure out that guitar solo. And so I sat down. I'm not a big guitar guy, but I sat down, watched videos, listened, learned it. I could play that guitar solo anytime. That's the only one. But when I tell you meticulously, I listen to that song.
So good.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be on your list. I'm borderline flabbergasted that it wasn't number 1, but
I would have put that at your number 1.
Yeah. Me too. We would have to jump out the window over here, me and Dunk.
So let's hear that number 1.
Okay, I can't. It looks like a one-word name. I literally, I'm so blind. Put your hands over it. I can't tell its letters.
Number 1 is Human Nature, Michael Jackson. Is that an eye roll? Or is
Go ahead.
Okay.
Continue.
To me, first of all, I'm sure you've heard this, but let me tell the story just in case anyone hasn't. Steve Porcaro, who is the guitar player the piano player for Toto. He is working with Michael Jackson on the Thriller album. And he wrote the chorus to Human Nature because his daughter got hurt on the playground by a boy. And she was asking him, why are boys being mean to me? And he just, he's like, it's just human nature. Boys kind of, bully girls.
Is that true?
It is true.
I'll have to look that up.
And so he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so he writes, why tell him that it's human nature? Why does he do me that way? Just records a chorus. And so he's working on other stuff on the album, and he has one side of his tape with that little demo on there, and he gives it to Quincy Jones, and Quincy Jones pops it in to listen to something else. And as you might know, the tape just keeps playing, flip sides, and starts playing Human Nature, the chorus. And Quincy Jones says, "What is that? I love that." And Steve Porcaro was like, I was just messing around with it. And they loved it so much that they got together and wrote the verses for it. And so first of all, I think that the fact that the song came from just an accident is mind-boggling. I love the story behind that.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. Second of all, I remember the first time, I've probably heard the song a million times before this, but I remember the first time I noticed it. I was driving home from a shift at Kroger when I was just moved to Nashville.
Kroger's.
Working a job. I was miserable. I'm driving home at 11 o'clock listening to the radio, and this song came on, and I was like, whoa, what is that? Like driving in the night, and I'm like,
You had never heard it before?
I'd heard it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'd never like made the conscious effort to be
He
like,
never heard.
I never.
He never heard
it.
Yeah.
And so I hear that probably November, and by December, when Spotify's yearly recap comes out, Human Nature is my number one. I'm like, I gotta get more of this song, and so top to bottom, I've again listened to it meticulously, heard every little detail, every lyric, watched the live performances. Steve Lukather, who plays guitar on that, is also Toto's guitar player. Those Toto guys, and the drummer also played on that. Those Toto guys were on every bit of Thriller, and you can hear the version that they had before they brought in Steve Lukather to play guitar on it, and he does the
Sounds just like it.
Yeah, you get the point. But it's like learning how to be like, what does this need? It doesn't need an incredible like Van Halen part, but it does have something, and it just like, there's no way to explain it other than the way it makes me feel. I just can't get enough of it. And if I could just listen to one song, and that was the rule, I could only listen to one song, I would be very happy with Human Nature.
I could not agree with you more. Like, that is the best song on that album, in my opinion.
On one of the best albums of all time.
It's got a lot of songs on there that could be the best song on that album.
I mean, it's like Human Nature, PYT, Want to Be Starting Something, Thriller, Billie Jean, Beat It, The Girl Is Mine. Like, it is an amazing album. And that song, I'm not sure if I had to, fist fight about it, that's my favorite. And I agree with you 100%. It's such a good song. And I did not know the story that you told. And that's cool. And Toto,
those boys,
underrated, bro.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Superstars.
Everybody wants to talk about Africa, but it ain't about that. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So
every single song. Every single song on Thriller, those boys were playing on.
Yeah, and I was just laughing because obviously you guys weren't born at the time, but I had this sweet Michael Jackson muscle T-shirt. It was pre-made, like it had the cuff around. It was a pre-made muscle shirt. I didn't cut it off. I think I got beat up at a football game wearing that, but it wasn't Michael's fault. It was mine probably. But it's just funny that 80s music is such a part of your life because it was such a part of your parents' life. I know if I have done anything for at least two of my three children, it was the fact that they do like some good music. Yeah. They found stuff after me, but they're Lakers fan. The boys are Lakers. Well, all three of them are Lakers fans, but whatever. But music is something that sticks with you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I'm not going to get into my top 5 80s songs because I could never do that because I was a kid. Duncan, you got anything 80s you want to throw out?
I don't have a list made or anything.
Yeah, that's fine. But are you sitting there thinking of something that mom and dad like? What's something that jumps out at you?
We were just listening on the car ride up here, listening to Phil Collins.
Yeah.
And there's a story about how whenever they were in the studio recording In the Air Tonight, and how they threw the gate, which I don't know all the complexities of how all this stuff works, but. So they have this noise gate that they applied to the toms, which gave them that iconic do 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 do.
Right.
And you listen back to what he was cooking up, and it's not just Phil Collins, because I think that there was something about the 80s, which even just the word the 80s just brings back such nostalgia. Like you get that bright pink and blue, and the culture of the 80s was so...
The leather jacket.
Yes, it was so like... There's been such a push even today of like that reversion back to the 80s sound and the 80s music, the 80s branding, and like I'm so jealous that I did not get to live through the actual 80s decade, because to experience it for the first time as it's developing had to have been such a cool experience as a kid, as a teenager, to live it. And I think that's one of the things that nowadays there's so much music out there that a lot of times the radio is not indicative of the music culture that a person lives in, like it was back in the 80s and the 90s. And I remember our dad telling stories about how him and his buddy would drive around in the car after school and they would listen to the radio, and there were specific songs during their specific time periods, you know, correlating with when an album dropped, that like I go right back to this season whenever I hear this song. And we don't really have that same experience with music anymore.
It's up to you to decide what your soundtrack is now.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's, gosh, we could go on forever. Like, I love talking this. I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it.
They're like little time capsules.
Yeah, I don't, and the time period now is cool too, but like at that time it was, I didn't have MTV because my mom and dad didn't have enough money. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to go to a friend's to watch MTV. And that's one of the ways you would get it. And the radio would play the same things over and over again. It's funny, today at the school, they had something going on. And I was talking to some guy, and I was wearing one of my Duncan I was wearing one of my t-shirts, and it was a Duncan t-shirt, which is an 80s band. And he made some comment about it. And I was just saying how we bought this, my dad bought this new tractor to mow with. And I'm mowing, this is 1984, and I'm mowing this huge area to the east of our house. And he put a radio on this brand new tractor, drilled holes in the fender over the back wheels by where the seat was. And he puts an AM radio. AM. Not AM, FM. AM. Out of another older tractor. And I'm listening to WLS out of Chicago. And a song from a band that I really liked, called The Scorpions, is getting ready to drop the new Scorpions song called Rock You Like a Hurricane. And they're talking about it, and I'm going one direction, and I turn around and go the other direction. No sound. Can't hear it. Get to the other end, turn back around and go the other direction. You can hear it. I'm like, here you go. Here's the new song from... And I can hear it all the way till I get to the end, and I turn around the other way, and I can't hear it. And I'm like, what? No. So I get to the other end.
Why didn't you just hit the restart button?
When I got to the other end, I stopped, and I sat there and took it out of gear, and I just sat there, and I'm sure my dad was like, what is he doing? Because I couldn't hear it. I could not hear this great, great song that everybody knows, because that was the time. And it's just, growing up in that period of time was just something else.
If I can I share a story real quick that my
go
dad
ahead.
told me? Yeah. So
we're at like 16 hours and
that's perfect. So we'll get to 17. So this is one of my favorite stories. It's like straight out of a movie. This is about Separate Ways by Journey. Just a
banger,
breakup power ballad. And so this is
the worst video, one of the worst videos ever. But
really, I've never seen it.
We're gonna have to do that before you leave.
Yeah,
today.
We'll watch it. So my dad and my mom had broken up, and my mom was out on a date with this other guy, and my dad and his best friend were going out to Pizza Hut, to feel a little better. And
what better way to wash down your heartache
than pizza, bro?
Than a pan pizza.
That's where we
go. Pizza.
And so,
Dad played arcade game and little jukebox
crust,
right? Yeah,
She's stupid, dude.
There was no stuffed crust back then.
Dang,
Cam,
man,
what are you
that's
talking
old.
about?
So they walk in, and it's Dad and Dave. And they walk in and they see my mom on this date. And so my dad goes up to the jukebox.
Whoa. Pause.
Yep.
Pizza Hut runs deep.
They ended up
runs
at
deep
the
in his
same
blood.
pizza place. I have not heard this story before. They're with King Dave. Your dad's with King
Uncle
Dave. The greatest guy. And they end up They
end up while my mom is on a date. And so Dave's like, Tony, let's just go. But my dad walks through, goes to the jukebox, plays Separate Ways, gives her the eyes, and walks out.
Dog.
Leaves Separate Ways
Dog.
playing on the jukebox for him on her date. Boy.
You know why your dad's that cool?
Why
You
is
know
that?
why? What's his name?
Tony.
Anthony, bro.
Anthony.
Yeah,
Right.
Anthony, bro.
Anthony.
It's built into the name.
Yeah.
The Anthony Lewis.
It's in the
The
blood.
Anthony.
That doesn't make sense. But you know what I'm saying.
In the
it's
name
it's in
blood.
the name. The blood
Yeah.
name. If you have that, it becomes in your blood.
Hearing that story, I'm like, I can see it as an 80s movie. I mean, that's like, so now, that's the cool thing about all these songs is like, I love asking my parents about what it means to them, where they were when they heard it. My mom was telling me just the other night that she had Michael Jackson posters up in her room and would listen to the album, and she would wait around on MTV to wait to try to see the Beat It music video to see if it would come on. And it just blows my mind.
But
you couldn't just type it into YouTube.
You guys had something special. I think Stranger Things got as successful as it did because it was set in the 80s.
100%. And it was a great show.
It's a
played
phenomenal
into it.
show,
Yeah.
but you put it in the 90s or in the 70s, and it doesn't have the kick that it does. There's something about the 80s that is like, it's you can't really quite put it into words. You have to experience it, and that's why I think any chance that our generation has to have just a piece of it, even if it's a recreation of what it feels like. You know, Stranger Things is our version of waiting for the radio to drop a new song by your favorite artist.
Yeah, and this is funny because we have not talked about what I'm getting ready to say at all. So I'm totally putting the McClure brothers on the spot. Name your favorite song from 2013. And I'm not picking on you. I'm serious. This is where we're at. And so Dunk graduated in 13. Cam graduated in 17. Name the 17 song.
I don't have one. I would have to.
And it's not. I'm not busting you. This is my point.
Right.
This is my point because I can give you an 89, an 88, an 87, an 86. Those are my 4 years of high school. I can give you one from each one of them. And I'm asking you to do it. And I can even go 89, 90, 91, 92. I can get to a point where I can name some and then it changes. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But like, that's the way it was when your parents and I were kids, is you had something from each of those years that you could be tied to forever.
Might not be fair, but I do have answers for you. 2013 Mirrors, Justin Timberlake. Fire.
No, again, it wasn't like to be like, if you prove me wrong, go ahead.
But
I don't mean that.
you should not have to think for a second. It should be a guttural reaction of
100%.
what is your favorite song of 2013? Well, it's this by this because I listened to it 12,000 times.
Yes.
I don't have that song because it was like I wasn't listening just to the radio. I was listening to my iPod. I was listening to YouTube. I was listening to, if you liked rap, if you liked rock, if you like R&B. You had all these different options. So
and maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, but your participation in a cultural phenomenon was lessened because you had so many options.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And
isn't it weird that more options equates to less connection?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Weird. I'm not even being like profound, like
it is
Confucius, but like, it is weird because I can remember the things that were impactful when I was those ages that you were, and it was just different because I didn't have MTV. I had to, if you guys had it on cassette, we put it in my boombox and we listened to it together.
Right.
I couldn't stream it.
Like we were talking about before, the as above, so below. I think that it is a common human connection to try to figure out what you have in common with somebody else whenever you don't know them. So whenever you're meeting somebody for the first time, you're going through all of these things like, so where did you grow up? What high school did you go to? What's your favorite XYZ? You're trying to figure out what does this stranger have in common with my own experience.
Right.
And for us, it's hard to find those things because there's such a vast array of experiences that exist in the world. And we've tried to break it down to every person has an individual experience that is unique to them, and it's really hard to find commonalities with somebody as opposed to someone who grew up in the 70s and the 80s where they listened to just the radio, they watched just TV, and they had a very similar upbringing. I think that's one of the powerful things of that childhood, that experience is like you all kind of lived the same thing.
And from your own
from your own perspective, but like you don't have to look that far before you start finding commonalities.
Right.
And I think that that is a gift because people love themselves and they love finding pieces of themselves in somebody else. Yeah, and I think it's easier to be connected with somebody who you see yourself in. And it's easier to trust somebody that you see yourself in.
And we were just saying earlier, like, it's up to you now to curate the playlist of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. And so like every new season I start on Spotify, I start my spring 2024 playlist, or I start my summer playlist or whatever. And it's like I put in a lot of work to find new songs and to listen to them meticulously so that I can go back one day and listen and be like, oh yeah, summer 2023, good times. But it's like I have to do that for me, and no one else
Nobody else gets to share that with you.
Yeah. And so it's just like how nice it must have been to be like everybody is tuning in, everybody's hearing this song, everybody's making memories, and everyone can be like, you remember summer of 1984 when this was big?
That's what's funny is I do. Like it was yesterday, and I was between my 7th and 8th grade year.
But what's the song? What's the song in 84?
Well, 84. There's the two best years in my entire life are 84 and 1991, because 1991 is when music changed. That's when we went Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. Like my music world changed then. Yeah. But 84, I mean, I put this on Instagram all the time. I don't know if I'm not going to say the song Drive from the Cars is my favorite song ever. I don't know. I think I could get in a fist fight about that. You're talking Purple Rain. Purple Rain is arguably the greatest song ever.
Guitar tone.
He's the king. I mean, he's the GOAT. I mean, he makes his first album at 19 by himself in his basement, plays all the instruments. He's the GOAT.
Sounds normal now, but
he's the GOAT.
Back then,
that's a different
the GOAT.
That's different.
Just the absolute GOAT. 1984 and 1991. You know, thank God those years happened because there's so much amazing music in them, and so many in other years too. I was looking back, getting ready for some podcasts with my friend Jerry, and you can kind of see when music changes, when it becomes more pop. Like, you know, back then it was, you know, like 1980, it was a lot of rock and roll, and then the further you go, our palette opened up. And that's a good thing. That was a great thing as we went further, is then your palette opened up, but then eventually your palette got so diverse that then it was like, it's just weird. But
the 90s opened that up for the individuality of, I'm not described as pop, so I'm going to go this different direction, and then it just spider webs from there into a You know,
when you got to 89, which would have been my senior year, the spring of my senior year and the fall of my freshman year in college, it's all over the place.
There's like 16 different genres of rock.
It's all
at that
over
point.
the place. Yeah, like Ron and I were. She actually came up here last night, and I was doing something, and I was playing some music for, you know, talking REM, Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever, Bobby Brown, Don't Be Cruel. Like Bobby Brown's Don't Be Cruel, the first 6 songs, perfect. And it's like that, and then Tom Petty, like they don't mix together. It's like you can't mix those colors. You can't, you know, turn that into a good burger. Plug. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, you know,
Plus Michael Jackson's still in the mix, still putting stuff out in the 90s.
Right?
I mean, it's not the same.
In 91,
it's
dangerous, right? It's not that.
He's still in the mix. The world is like getting used to like, what is this new sound?
Yeah. And
cool.
and hip hop rap music is starting to explode. And, you know, Albers and I talked when he was here a week ago or 2 weeks ago, a little over a week ago. I mean, that became so much of a part of my life. Like I have friends that never listen to that, and I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar all the time. You know,
which is an entirely different musical experience.
Yeah,
it's the way that you approach it, the way that you perform it, the way that you experience it. Like I think that the 90s needed to happen to give that branch off, because I think that there were so many people that fell outside the boundaries, and I think that's where a little bit of the privilege comes in, where it's like our parents fell nicely within the borders of what the 80s allowed. Right. There were a lot of people that fell outside of that. And I think that the 90s started to give the people a voice for who the 80s didn't quite well describe.
Right. Yeah.
But
especially in the middle of nowhere, like where we grew up.
So. Right.
All right. We have talked for, according to my thing, almost 3 hours minus
already?
Some breaks here and there.
Big boy pod.
Yeah, it is. This is the longest pod that I've done on my podcast. Says something about the two guys that are with me. Good conversation. I love you both. I'm glad that you came up. It's time to make some pizza though. So, love you guys. I really do. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you listened all the way through, congrats.
Thanks.
Congrats. If you can, in your head, close your eyes and see us without our shirts on. Duncan is the one that looks the least good. Duncan and I Cam and I are tearing it up. I at least have as good a tan as Duncan.
Not quite a physique as me,
Yep. No matter how much I suck in my gut, it doesn't matter. And I don't have a cool cowboy hat on. If you're listening to this in Nashville, which I hope you are, Cam Burgers, where are we going to be at next? Let's go.
Depends on where the podcast comes out, but right now we are going to be located at
Memento. Oh, you said Thursday. Thursday, right?
Uh-huh.
Thursday.
Okay, tomorrow's Wednesday. Maybe I'll get it out.
Well, consistent on Thursday.
I won't go to bed tonight. I'll get it edited and we'll get it out. We'll get it out before maybe Thursday morning.
I would honestly encourage you to follow us on Instagram, because so much stuff is shifting right now and changing, and we're popping up in different places. Got so many events going on. It's best to just hang on tight for the ride. Follow us on Instagram and figure out where we'll be week to week.
Yeah, it's funny. I say that I posted that with this, and I live in the middle of nowhere, and you think subscribe, but that's how you know what's going up. You know what's going on, and you can see what's being posted and whatever. So, love you boys. Glad you drove up. It's been fun to be on here together. I'm sure some people will enjoy it. Others will have turned it off 2.5 hours ago. And that's the awesome. Best part about the world we live in. So I say this at the end of every one of them. And we've talked about it a lot during this episode. Life is good. Find the positive. Work to be better every day. We'll see you.